The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242
or visit tomsbeets.com. It's the third and final week of the Free Speech TV fundraising drive and membership drive and all that kind of stuff. And special thanks to David Q from Castle Rock, Colorado, who joined the Builders Circle by giving $1,000 last Friday, or I believe it was Friday last week, maybe over the weekend. And, and thank you to you if you have already called 877-378-8669 and made a contribution to Free Speech TV. We're in this last week here. We're still a little behind, but we're doing good. We're doing, so far it's very positive. I'm hopeful that this final week we can raise that additional $50,000 and make this thing work. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We're not talking about a lot of money here. I mean, it's the Free Speech TV's budget is smaller than some public radio stations, some of the larger ones around the country. I know it's smaller than that of Oregon Public Broadcasting, for example. And I believe we have a whole lot more viewers. So please call now, 877-378-8669. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of a bumper sticker, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, or the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 contribution, Love Conquers Hate is the lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign. It's a jewelry-style clutch pin back. And you get the Free Speech TV blue grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all 4 bumper stickers, Free Speech TV, This Is Not Normal, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $120 gift, and these can be split up over 12 months, by the way. That would be $10 a month for a year, a commitment to, for a year of $10 a month, which is not a whole lot of money. Well, it is for some people, I realize, but, for most people, $10 a month is something that is a lot easier to handle than writing a $120 check. Anyhow, with the $120, you get an autographed photo that Louise took of me in Cuba in front of a painting of Fidel, and you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by me. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV t-shirt, small, medium, large, or extra large. It's gray. It says Building a Just World on the front and Standing with Unity on the back. It has the Free Speech TV logo. You also get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, and you get my book Unequal Protection autographed, and Bonnie Siegler's book Signs of Resistance: A Visual History of Protest in America. With then that's $240 gift, which also can be $20 a month for a year. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, you get the photo from Cuba. You get me doing this. You get the autographed book Unequal Protection, the book I wrote about basically how the Supreme Court handed civil rights to corporations. Let's see, $360 gift. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to our podcast so that you can listen to this show, all 3 hours of it commercial-free, pretty much anytime, anywhere. The podcasts play on any kind of, Android device, Mac, iPhones, iPods, you name it. If it's portable and you can, or even if it's not, you can play them on your computer. You can listen to all 3 hours of the show commercial free. Something we normally sell. That's one of the few things that we sell here out of this program is our podcasts. And this is with the $360 gift or $30 a month for a year. You get a 1-year subscription to that. You get 4 bumper stickers, all 4 of the bumper stickers. The Thom Hartmann University, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus. And This Is Not Normal, and the Free Speech TV logo. With a $480 gift or $40 a month for a year, you get a DVD of Louise and I in Cuba, Tom and Louise's excellent adventure. It's really mostly Cubans telling us about Cuba. There's just some fascinating interviews. And we're not selling this, we're not publishing it, we're not putting it on television or anything like that. It's only available to people who make a $480 contribution or commit to $40 a month for a year here on Free Speech TV. You also get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the Black Lives Matter book by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt, Building a Just World, the logo. And you can specify small, medium, large, or extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland here, and I'll take you to lunch. You can sit in the studio, hang out with us. We brought a couch in for people, for our studio audience, as it were, and which would be you if you make a $1,000 gift and you'd like to come to see Portland. If you're going to come see Portland, by the way, spend an extra day and visit the town and watch Portlandia before you do so, because it's actually a pretty good depiction of this town. Anyhow, thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV. Please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. So somebody asked Stormy Daniels, what's the best snack food to eat while you're watching the show on 60 Minutes last night? And she tweeted, mini corn dogs. Boom, boom. I tweeted out this morning, apropos of that now that we know that Donald Trump becomes compliant and does what he's told when he's been spanked, Stormy Daniels needs to call John Kelly right away. But the larger picture, the larger issue, I think, of the weekend was the march. And some of the best posters, I just want to share these 2 with you, and then we're going to talk with Noel Flasterstein about this stuff. The first was, this is a quote from Matthew 25:35 through 36, New Hypocritical Version. For I was hungry, and you cut my food stamps. I was a stranger, and you deported me. I was sick, and you denied me health care. I was a child, afraid to go to school, and you voted with the NRA. That's one. The other one that I thought was fascinating is, how about we treat, this is a poster. I saw both of these over at Democratic Underground, by the way, democraticulnderground.com. But they're from the march, How about we treat every young man who wants to buy a gun like every woman who wants to get an abortion? There's a mandatory 48-hour waiting period. Parental permission is required. A note from his doctor must be provided, proving that he understands what he's about to do. A video that he has to watch about the effects of gun violence. And an ultrasound wand up his butt just because. Let's close down all but one gun shop in every state, make him travel hundreds of miles, take time off work, and stay overnight in a strange town to get a gun. Make him walk through a gauntlet of people holding photos of loved ones who were shot to death. People who call him a murderer and beg him not to buy a gun. Makes more sense to do this with young men and guns than with women and health care, right? I mean, no woman getting an abortion has ever killed a room full of people in seconds. Yeah. Noel Flasterstein is on the line with us. He's a Second Amendment and gun rights law practice attorney. His website, FLGunlaw, as in Florida, gunlaw.com. You can tweet him at FLGunlaw. Noel, welcome back to the program. It's been a while.
Yes, and always a pleasure to talk with you. My favorite person to disagree with.
Okay, well, thank you, Noel. So, you and I have talked about this many times over the years, and I think my proposal some time ago was that we treat guns the same way we do cars. We all have a right to drive a car, but You know, the car has to be registered from time of manufacture until it's destroyed. People have to have a license proving that they're proficient, and the NRA could make some good money training people. And they have to have liability insurance because cars can kill people, and you know that's another opportunity for the NRA to make money. So you know that was my simple. Now I am increasingly convinced that we need to do what pretty much every other developed country in the world has done, and that is ban. First of all, ban all military-style assault weapons. It's insane that we're 5% of the world's population. We have 50% of the world's civilian guns, or guns in civilian hands. And I'm thinking that we should even ban all semi-automatic weapons, period. So, your thoughts?
Well, if we as a country, as a people, want to do that, then we can definitely, you know, do an amendment to the Constitution to go about that. But unfortunately,
I'm not sure it would even take that because you know, I reread the Heller decision last week, and I don't know if you've read the two dissents in it, but the two dissents are absolutely screaming brilliant. You know, it was a 5-4 decision, but even in the Heller decision, they come right out and say, you know, this decision does not mean that guns cannot be regulated.
Well, even Scalia said that.
Scalia wrote the decision.
Right, and I will agree. I actually read the dissents, and I can't remember if it was Stevens, but
yeah, Stevens wrote the first dissent, and he just took apart these phony baloney arguments that were used for Heller. But I mean, you know, we've got a serious problem here, Noel. You got 96 Americans die every day from gun violence, 33,000 a year, nearly 79,000 people a year are injured by gun violence. It's you know, this does not happen in any other developed country in the world. When are we going to shake off the power of the gun lobby, the NRA?
Well, what is the NRA? You know, the gun lobby, and I guess most people think it's this small cabal, and it's well funded by, you know, some manufacturer.
Well, apparently Russian oligarchs gave him $40 million to pass along to the Trump campaign. I mean, you know, I think the NRA might be in big trouble here.
The NRA actually is made up of individuals such as myself and a whole host of individuals across the political spectrum and across political ideologies, and that's what makes us powerful. I don't represent the NRA, but I am a member of the NRA, and there's Democrats, liberals, there's conservatives, Republicans. Those are the people that make up the NRA, and that's what causes the problem. So when Nancy Pelosi talks about, you know, people are afraid of the NRA, or even Donald Trump makes mention people are afraid of the NRA, it's not the NRA they're afraid of, it's their constituents. So now you might see this March for Life or March for Living, whatever they call it. March for Our Lives, I can confuse that with, you know, unborn babies, but I guess I was wrong about that. But when you see this, when you see that playing out there, you know, it's not like the NRA is made up of one or two or a small group of individuals that are fighting, protecting, and voting protect the Second Amendment. It's made up of citizens. And so when Nancy Pelosi talks about fear of the NRA, she's talking about fear of her constituencies. That's why on the federal level, generally, you don't see anything happen. And
so let me get this straight, Noel. Let me understand what you're saying here. You're saying we are a country of about 340 million people, and the NRA has 5 million members. So you're suggesting that 1.6%, if I'm doing my math in my head fast enough, certainly fewer than 2% of the U.S. population should be determining policy that leads to 96 deaths a day. Is that what you're saying, really?
That's not what I'm saying at all, because the NRA are not, you know, not the 5 million members of the NRA are not the only
which is
gun owners
nothing.
in
It's
America.
less than 2% of America.
Exactly. There are many people that are supportive of the Second Amendment, that are supportive of the NRA, that are not members, and that's
more than
causes
half
the
of all the
problem.
guns in America, Neil. You know this. More than half of all the guns in America in civilian hands are owned by 3% of the people. 3% of people are like massive gun nuts.
That I do not know, but it doesn't matter. Listen, I was a member of the NRA before I even owned a firearm. The only time I became a member of the NRA was after I was a victim of a crime, and I've seen this kind of story, my story, play itself among other people. When they become a victim of a crime, then they want to be able to protect themselves. Parkland, if anything, is an argument for the expansion.
But the criminals are using guns. Let's get the guns out of our society. I mean, there's a reason why most of the cops in the UK don't carry guns.
they're committing murder. Murder is against the law, but that doesn't seem to stop them.
How do we get the guns? Australia successfully got the guns out of their society. They had the Port Arthur massacre in 1996 in Tasmania. At horrible 30, I think it was 34 people were slaughtered. The Australian newspapers broke protocol and actually showed the pictures of the dead people. And within 6 months, the Australian government had said and the Australian people, the people are broadly supportive of this, as are the people of the United States, by the way. They said enough. We're going to have some controls on guns.
Getting rid of the Second Amendment is not going to save lives and not going to save and stop the tragedies that occur.
Why not? How can you say, we've got, as I said, we have 5% of the world's population and half of the guns in the world in civilian hands. How could reducing the number of guns not reduce the number of deaths? It has in every other developed country in the world. What, do you think America is somehow unique?
Okay, you just said half of the firearms are owned by 3% of the population?
Half of the firearms in the United States are owned by 3% of the gun owners in the United States. Most gun owners have 1 or 2 guns.
Okay, so
there's a small cohort of gun owners who have 40 and 50 guns, like the guy who shot up Las Vegas.
Most of the people, of that 3%, which own most of the firearms, as you're alleging, own half the firearms. How many of them have committed these mass shootings? So clearly,
well, the guy in Vegas did. The Newtown guy did. They were big time gun collectors. So it looks like it's a lot of them.
It's not. Look, I understand the gun control advocates' position of, hey, it'd be great if we lived in a world without guns, but we don't.
Like the rest of the developed world. No, it's just a matter of political will, Noel. I mean, every other developed country in the world, all the way down to Costa Rica, which is a member of the OECD. They're the poorest member of the OECD. All of them have, like 1/6, 1/7, 1/10, 1/100th in some cases, the gun violence rate that we have in the United States because they don't have as many guns. Guns are the problem.
Guns are the problem. You know what? But see, Tom, I disagree because if you outlaw guns, let's outlaw. There's no Second Amendment. Obviously, you're not stupid. You're an intelligent man, actually very intelligent. And from my personal observations, you're a very intelligent man. If we outlaw guns, that's not going to stop the criminals from having guns, just like it doesn't stop people from using drugs that are illegal. So from my perspective, from my position, when I hear people such as yourself say, and I don't know if this is necessarily your opinion, but I believe the left or that area of the left that is pro-gun control, it's not because they think it's going to save lives and stop violence, because clearly you outlaw them, it's not going to stop the criminals from having guns.
The day of the Newtown massacre, in China, the same day that kid walked in there with that AR-15 or the Bushmaster and murdered all those children, in China, there was a guy who burst into a school, into a classroom, intent on killing as many children as he could. He wounded 32. He was armed with a knife. No one died. You can't get a gun in China unless you can prove you have a need for it. Now,
okay, so you want to take away need, you want to take it, but see, again, it gets back to the point. It's not going to stop it.
I just proved it stops it.
It's not going to stop the criminal from getting guns if they want to. So what it really is,
absolutely it will. It does. It has stopped criminals from getting guns in other countries too.
It didn't stop alcohol. Outlawing something doesn't stop the criminals from getting it.
So are you suggesting that we should
get it.
So outlawing something doesn't stop it? Should we do away with laws against bank robbery? Should we do away with laws against shoplifting? Shoplifting still happens.
That's right. So guess what? People still, it's against the law.
So we should just do away with the law, right?
You're saying
you want to decriminalize everything.
You're saying, no, I'm not saying that at all. You're making my point for me. You're saying we've outlawed shoplifting, it still happens. I'm saying you outlaw guns, and it's still going to happen. And the only person who's going to be punished are the law-abiding.
No, and then you're doing the flipping upside down of that logic, and you're saying, therefore, we should not outlaw guns. And I'm saying, if you didn't outlaw shoplifting, that frankly, I think you'd have a lot more shoplifting. Anyhow. Noel, we're out of time. Noel Flasterstein.
We'll have to pick it up. Thank you.
Yeah, good talking to you. Noel Flasterstein, attorney for the Second Amendment attorney. flgunlaw.com is his website. You can tweet him at flgunlaw. Noel, thanks a lot. We'll be right back. It's coming up on 18 minutes past the hour.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be right back with more of the news of the day and your calls right after this. And welcome back. John in Minneapolis. Hey, John, what's on your mind today? Thanks for watching Free Speech.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I had watched a lot of the march on Democracy Now! They covered about 3 or 4 hours of the speeches, and I was really impressed with these young people. And as somebody pointed out on another program that I listened to, this is the first time I think that we've had a youth movement led by very young people. And, that's kind of interesting, and I hope that they're able to consolidate power. You saw a lot of people from South LA make wonderful speeches, from South Chicago, from DC, where their gun violence touches people, every person just about in those neighborhoods. And so if we can get, consolidate, all of these, people, I think that politically, I mean, not to, I guess, I'm not to capitalize politically off of the tragedy that has gone on with this, but I think we can, as they kept saying, vote them out.
I think that's what's going to happen.
And I think
I sure hope so. I mean,
And, it's just, turning things over to, the neoliberal version of how we do political economy is just turn everything over to the marketplace and everything would be fine. It doesn't work, and it's not done everywhere else in the world. They don't turn over their society to the city of London, to London, to the financial district, and to the extent that they have, this is a problem. And progressives need to bring that message home through this tragedy that, we are a society of laws and we are a society of people, not consumers. We are citizens of one of the best projects of the Enlightenment, and we have brought that throughout the world, and we have, really gone away from that since Ronald Reagan said he was going to, let the bulls out on Wall Street. Well, let's clean up the, what?
Yeah.
And get on with our lives. This is nonsense. These arguments that people make, about the Second Amendment, then get rid of it.
I was hoping that Noel could make an argument that actually made sense to me, and he's not here. I don't want to pick on him, but I did not hear an argument. I mean, I heard if you criminalize something, it's not going to stop it. Well, obviously, but that doesn't mean that you don't criminalize things. We're supposed to repeal laws against bank robbery and child pornography because you're not going to stop it? Really?
Right, and let's at least try it. I mean, I could say that, let's give it a 10 to 15 to 20 year, time frame and see what happens. Right. Because I think it, as you pointed out in Australia and also in Scotland and the UK, when they really cracked down on these assault-style weapons, the rate of deaths from them went down considerably. It's just it's an argument that doesn't make any sense. And we're, a rational people. We believe in reason and law and also morality. I mean, it's happening every day in the south side of Chicago.
Yeah, and all over the country because there's so many guns. People are taking out what should have been a street fight but turning it into a gunfight. John, thank you. It's always nice to hear from you, and thanks for watching us there in Minneapolis. We'll be right back. It's 22 minutes, coming up on 23 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. The disturbing facts about gun violence in the United States. Gun ownership, just having a gun in the house, increases the risk of completed suicides compared to all other means of suicide combined, pills, cutting, jumping, even hanging. Domestic violence increases in severity and deadliness when there's a gun in the home. Women are 16 times more likely to be killed by a gun in the United States than in any other developed nation in the world. 16 times. That's 1,600% if I'm doing my math right. 16 times more likely. Gun violence is the leading cause of injury and death for America's children and youth. That is not true of any other country in the developed world. Since 2013, there have been nearly 300 school shootings in the United States, an average of about one a week. The Parkland shooting marked the 18th school shooting in 2018 alone. Just from January 1st to February 18th of this year, there were 30 mass shootings in the United States. In an average month, 50 American women are shot to death by intimate partners, and many, 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 many more are injured. The Parkland students were carrying signs. I don't know if this was all of them or just, enough of them to get the attention, but David Hogg was one of the more visible spokespeople. He and Emma Gonzalez, and it's just despicable, by the way, what's going on with the way that the gun nuts and the hard right are dealing with Emma Gonzalez. They've got a picture. There is a picture of her tearing up a gun target, right, a shooting range target, and they photoshopped it so it looks like she's tearing up the Constitution. And this photo has now gone viral among right-wing crazies, and they believe it's true. Right? As Mark Twain said, a lie will get all the way around the world before the truth gets its boots on. But what the kids were doing from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, as David Hogg pointed out, he said, quote, he was wearing a sign that said $1.05, right? $1.05. Turns out I'll just read David Hogg's words. I'll let him do it in his words. First off, he said, I'm going to start off by putting this price tag right here, just to remind you guys how much Marco Rubio took for every student's life in Florida, $1.05. Now, he's not talking about the kids who were killed. He's talking about all the students in Florida who are daily terrorized by these school lockdown drills. He said his sister, Lauren, explained to CNN, we took the amount of money that Marco Rubio took from the NRA, which, by the way, was millions. We divided it by every single student in the state of Florida, must be millions. So this is how much we're worth to the Florida government. It's our price tag, $1.05. And this is just like, Hogg says, the cold grasp of corruption shackles, I think we're in a break, Sean, shackles the District of Columbia. The winter is over. Change is here. The sun shines on a new day, and the day is ours. First-time voters show up 18% of the time in midterm elections. Not anymore. He said, when you're trying to suppress your vote and people try to stand against you because you're too young, we say no more. When politicians say your voice doesn't matter because the NRA owns them, we say no more. This is David Hogg. Brilliant.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
And then, of course, as I mentioned, there's Stormy Daniels. John Bolton. I mean, there's so much news. We'll be back with your calls after this. It's the third and final week of the Free Speech TV fundraising drive and membership drive and all that kind of stuff. And special thanks to David Q from Castle Rock, Colorado, who joined the Builders Circle by giving $1,000 last Friday, or I believe it was Friday last week, maybe over the weekend. And, and thank you to you if you have already called 877-378-8669 and made a contribution to Free Speech TV. We're in this last week here. We're still a little behind, but we're doing good. We're doing, so far it's very positive. I'm hopeful that this final week we can raise that additional $50,000 and make this thing work. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We're not talking about a lot of money here. I mean, it's the Free Speech TV's budget is smaller than some public radio stations, some of the larger ones around the country. I know it's smaller than that of Oregon Public Broadcasting, for example. And I believe we have a whole lot more viewers. So please call now, 877-378-8669. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of a bumper sticker, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, or the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 contribution, Love Conquers Hate is the lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign. It's a jewelry-style clutch pin back. And you get the Free Speech TV blue grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all 4 bumper stickers: Free Speech TV, This Is Not Normal, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $120 gift, and these can be split up over 12 months, by the way. That would be $10 a month for a year, a commitment to, for a year of $10 a month, which is not a whole lot of money. Well, it is for some people, I realize, but for most people, $10 a month is something that is a lot easier to handle than writing a $120 check. Anyhow, with the $120, you get an autographed photo that Louise took of me in Cuba in front of a painting of Fidel, and you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by me. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV t-shirt, small, medium, large, or extra large. It's gray. It says Building a Just World on the front and Standing with Unity on the back, and has the Free Speech TV logo. You also get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, and you get my book Unequal Protection autographed, and Bonnie Siegler's book Signs of Resistance: A Visual History of Protest in America. With then that's $240 gift, which also can be $20 a month for a year. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, you get the photo from Cuba. You get me doing this. You get the autographed book Unequal Protection, book I wrote about basically how the Supreme Court handed civil rights to corporations. Let's see, $360 gift. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance: A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to our podcast so that you can listen to this show, all 3 hours of it commercial-free, pretty much anytime, anywhere. The podcasts play on any kind of, Android device, Mac, iPhones, iPods, you name it. If it's portable, and you can, or even if it's not, you can play them on your computer, and you can listen to all 3 hours of the show commercial-free. Something we normally sell. That's one of the few things that we sell here out of this program is our podcasts. And this is with the $360 gift or $30 a month for a year. You get a 1-year subscription to that. You get 4 bumper stickers, all 4 of the bumper stickers: the Thom Hartmann University, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and This Is Not Normal, and the Free Speech TV logo. With a $480 gift, or $40 a month for a year, you get a DVD of Louise and I in Cuba, Tom and Louise's Excellent Adventure. It's really mostly Cubans telling us about Cuba. There's just some fascinating interviews. And we're not selling this, we're not publishing it, we're not putting it on television or anything like that. It's only available to people who make a $480 contribution or commit to $40 a month for a year here on Free Speech TV. You also get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the Black Lives Matter book by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance: A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get the Free Speech TV t-shirt, Building a Just World, the logo. And you can specify small, medium, large, or extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland here, and I'll take you to lunch. You can sit in the studio, hang out with us. We brought a couch in for people, for our studio audience, as it were, and which would be you if you make a $1,000 gift and you'd like to come to see Portland. If you're going to come see Portland, by the way, spend an extra day and visit the town, and watch Portlandia before you do so, because it's actually a pretty good depiction of this town. Anyhow, thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV. Please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Okay.
The commercial, you can listen anytime, any place you want.
With you. And it's still there? Oh, I hear that. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and just a couple of quick things here. Scott Dworkin just tweeted, Marco Rubio, can you please explain this $1 million contribution to your super PAC from a Russian billionaire who made billions off Russian oil? How many meetings did you have to go to before you got this $1 million check? What did you offer in return? Floridians deserve answers. Well, that's the Russians, not the gun nuts. What's the deal with that? Also, and just let you know, I tweeted, I read my own Twitter feed. I mean, the people who tweet back at me, and it's a real interesting source of feedback and information. But I also tweet, and this morning I tweeted, Dear Stormy Daniels, dear @StormyDaniels is her Twitter handle. I said, thanks for letting us know that @Real Donald Trump pays attention and does what he's told when he's spanked. If you saw 60 Minutes last night, that was kind of the first story, was that, she said, Donald started out talking about himself and showing her a magazine that he was on the cover of, and she was like, you need, if you're a bad boy talking about yourself all the time, that's no way to pick up girls. You need to be spanked. So he pulls down his pants and she spanks him with the magazine. That's how it all started. Anyhow, I said, please contact General Kelly and instruct him in the proper technique. And so there's all this, but in the meantime, this is still going on, right? The next step now is that there's a group of students who are marching. It's the 50-mile march to Paul Ryan's hometown, to Janesville, Wisconsin. They set out from Madison in 37-degree weather yesterday. It's going to take them 4 days to march 50 miles. And this, March for Our Lives, 50 miles more. The Twitter handle is @50milesmore, @50milesmore. So check that out. That's what's up, and that's what's coming. Paul in Woodinville, Washington. Hey, Paul, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. I want to just comment here. The Photoshop of Emma Gonzalez tearing up the shooting target, which is photoshopped to be the Constitution,
right,
could not be more apropos. Let me tell you something. If this generation of kids wants to tear up the damn Second Amendment, they will. It's up to them.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this idea that guns are like the sun. They just come up in the morning. If you need sunscreen, you need gun screen. Guns are not part of the ubiquitous part of nature. They are something that we introduce. We can do what the hell that we want with them. And this is a generation. It's their Constitution, and it's their future.
Yeah.
But I want to point one thing out, Tom, real quickly here. Ironically, there were, in the high school where I went to school in Livonia, Michigan, there was a plaque on the wall in the entrance of the school of 8 young men who were killed in Vietnam between the years 1967 and I think 1970. I called this morning. The plaque is still there. And I thought, you know what? Look what our society has become. In one day last month, more than twice as many kids were killed in the high school, not in a foreign war country on the other side of the world where 58,000 other people were killed.
Well, this is why, Paul, I take this so seriously. My generation, I was of draft age and during the Vietnam era, and my generation said, hey, wait a minute, our country's trying to kill us. Basically, 56 or 57,000 Americans died in the Vietnam War, not to mention 2 million Vietnamese. Our country's trying to kill us. We're not going to take this anymore. And I think that, without the protests, I think the Vietnam War would be dragging on just like Iraq and Afghanistan. It would have become a permanent feature, a permanent moneymaker for the military-industrial complex. But we said no. We were being killed. Now we've got another generation of kids who are being killed, and they're saying no. And I think they're going to be as much of a force as we were.
Exactly. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Paul. Good talking to you. Leon in Maroa, Illinois? Maroa. Hey, Leon, what's up?
I want to tell you about the march my wife and I attended in Springfield, Illinois. It was about 36-degree day, drizzling rain. I'm guessing around 300, maybe 325 attendees. Most of them, a lot of them were adults. And they had some high school speakers. Betsy Lonergan, who's running against Ronnie Davis in the 13th Congressional District, spoke. She swore that she would never take a dime from the NRA, and got quite a row out of the crowd over that. And the NRA had maybe 20, 25 people across the street were heckling people as they were speaking. And it was quite an experience. It gave us a good feeling. And I wanted to comment on that attorney's pistol that he was holding in his hand in the picture on the screen. I've watched a YouTube video how to fire that weapon without one bit of mechanical apparatus attached to it. Those YouTube videos should be taken down and not let people that don't need to be using those things see that.
I agree, and I thought I read a story last week that said that YouTube was taking down how-to videos on guns, but I'm not sure exactly what that means or how extensive that is. Leon, I'm going to move along. Your phone is breaking up. It's really hard to hear you, but thank you for the report. I appreciate the call. Alex in Compton, California. Hey, Alex, what's on your mind today?
No, just wanted to tell you that there's some of us out here that, in a lot of ways we would be considered liberals. Don't believe too much in, everybody should have a gun type deal. But we bought guns because of, like the lawyer on there, showing off his gun. A lot of us consider that threatening. Like the guys that went into Starbucks with their rifle strapped to their back.
Right.
If I would have been there, I would have felt extremely threatened. You know? No, I don't think, everybody should pack a gun, but maybe people should keep their guns at home. You don't have to see them at the local coffee shop or at
I
the
think
mall.
we need to do what Australia did. You can still get a gun in Australia. In fact, you can still get a machine gun in the United. We should do what the United States did. You can still get a machine gun in the United States. You just have to fill out an application. You have to go through a background check, and you have to pay a $200 processing fee. And the application is sufficiently rigorous that it can take a few months. But we know that the people in this country who legally have machine guns, and to the best of my knowledge, we've never seen a shooting with an illegal machine gun. So we apparently successfully stopped machine guns. We know that the people in this country with legal machine guns we know exactly who they are, and they're not committing crimes. So if we were as rigorous with all guns as we are with machine guns, no problem. And that's completely fine with the Second Amendment. And with the Heller decision.
I feel the same way. And the funny part is, I think there's a lot of people out here quietly that agree with you, but guess what? Like me, they're sitting here going, okay, well, I bought a rifle because there's people out there that are literally insane with their firearms. Like, I don't know, maybe I should protect myself.
Yeah, but if you've got a rifle and somebody comes after you with an AR-15, you're toast, Alex.
No, you're missing the point. It's turning into an arms race.
Oh,
There's a lot of people out here going, oh boy, maybe I should get one. I may need a protection from.
No, this is why the NRA loves mass shootings, because every time there's a mass shooting, gun sales go up.
Oh no, I know.
And it's like it's just absolutely bizarre. So anyhow, Alex,
I was packed in there.
Yeah, Alex, I got to move along, but thank you for the call, Scott in Alameda, California. Hey, Scott, what's on your mind?
Hey, I'm calling about Neil Gorsuch.
Yeah.
He's got to go. He's got to go. Listen.
He shouldn't have been there in the first place.
He shouldn't have been there in the first place, but you know that the Kennedy seat is the target of McConnell right now.
Oh, yeah.
You have to know that. People have got to understand how venal and evil these people are. Gorsuch has got to go. He is an illegal seat. He has got to be impeached.
Scott, the only way to get Gorsuch out of office is to impeach him. We've never successfully removed a Supreme Court justice from.
Well, what about what's his name?
Abe Fortas. Abe Fortas resigned. He was humiliated. He resigned.
Okay. And the other thing about the gun, just a quick note on the gun thing.
Mm-hmm.
The people in the Warsaw Ghetto uprising weren't worried about being outgunned. That's where we're at, okay? When you talk about the power of the government, it's not about the power of the government. It's about survival. It's about the will to survive, and that's where these people are. That's where it's coming from.
That's not going to go away. But I think the Warsaw Ghetto uprising, which by the way was put down by the Nazis, and most of those people were killed. Should not be instructing us right now. Our government is not a Nazi state.
Of course not. But that's where that comes from.
Yeah. I understand that people have used that over the years as an excuse for we need a gun because someday we may have to rise up against our government. Sorry, you can't do that. It doesn't work. Larry in Lancaster, California. Larry, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom, I'd like to say my point and respond to your answer. Every one of these gun shootings that's happened, they've broken laws. So why would a new law change a criminal from doing what he wants to do?
What I'm talking about is making it hard to get guns in the first place, Larry. And
but all you do is
guns don't grow in the ground. I mean, this isn't like marijuana where you can grow it. You can grow a patch of pot in your backyard, and nobody can ever stop that. Guns have to be manufactured by a factory someplace. They have to be sold by somebody. When you take guns out of circulation, and the experience of every other developed country in the world proves this, you take guns out of circulation, you decrease gun deaths, and you decrease suicides overall, not just suicides by guns. You decrease homicides overall, not just homicides by gun. You decrease domestic deaths, the domestic violence that leads to death overall, not just by gun. Guns do something to people, particularly to men, and apparently make them more violent. I mean, you just look at the statistics. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
It's interesting. Nobody's called about Stormy Daniels. Is this a big story or not? I think it is, frankly, and the cover-up, I think, is the big story. And welcome back. Michael in Imperial Beach, California. Hey, Michael, thanks for watching us on Free Speech TV. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mr. Hartmann, this is getting deep here. I watched the protests on Saturday and golf and tennis on Sunday. And I'll tell you, Tom, I'm really getting sick over the wage disparity between a great golfer or tennis player making $1 million for winning one tournament and a great teacher making roughly $50,000 a year. If anyone can tell me that what's that? If that.
I said
right.
If that. I mean, in big cities, teachers get paid well, but there are a lot of parts of this country where teachers are making between $20,000 and $40,000 a year.
Correct. So if anyone can tell me that a great golfer or tennis player is more important than a great teacher for the betterment of a society, I laugh in their face.
Yeah.
So
the mechanism, Michael, that we used to keep salaries reasonable, so that back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, TV stars, Lucille Ball, people like that. I mean, they made good money, but they didn't end up being worth $500, $700, $900 million. They could afford a nice house in Beverly Hills, but they weren't multimillionaires. Why was that? Because we had a 74% income tax on all income over, in today's dollars, around $3 million a year. And so when people negotiated contracts and deals, they would negotiate up to $3 million a year. But hey, why bother after that? You hit the 74% tax bracket, and it's like, why bother? And so, CEOs are making, $1 million, $2 million, sometimes $3 million. But, we did not have these wild disparities that you're describing, Michael, so absolutely accurately describing. We did not have that prior to the Reagan administration, prior to Reagan dropping that top tax rate below 50%. And 50% seems to be the magic number. Once it's above 50%, and we see this in countries all over the world, once the top tax rate's above 50%, income inequality is lessened. The rich are still rich, but they're not obscenely rich. They're not morbidly rich. And the poor are less poor, and the middle class is strengthened. Real straightforward stuff.
I agree, and I watched Betsy DeVos testify at Representative Pocan's subcommittee. So do you think this woman who's worth $5.4 billion in charge of our education will ever fight to raise the salary of teachers, Tom?
Unless they're in a for-profit school, I'd be very surprised. I mean, it seems to me that Betsy DeVos has committed her life to destroying public education and replacing it with for-profit education. She's certainly worked for years for that in Michigan, and the result is that Michigan's educational system is in deep pain right now as a consequence of Betsy DeVos and her right-wing buddies and everything that they've been doing there. And now they want to take it nationwide. And there's a few places where the experiment has so far, quote, worked, but By and large, not. And what it does, particularly in areas that have a lot of poverty, is it ghettoizes public schools, and all the middle class and affluent kids end up going to the private schools, and the public schools are then really groaning under the pain of it. And of course, their test scores and things go down. So the for-profit schools say, "See how wonderful we are," and it's really just all a matter of basically economic class discrimination, and very often it's class and race discrimination. So
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Tom. And
Yeah.
if you want to riff on it more, go for it. But thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Good call, and good on you for pointing it out. I mean, this is, and then people say, why do you have so much gun violence in America? Well, violence goes up when inequality goes up. So there is actually a link between gun violence and low taxes. Oddly enough, low taxes on the very, very rich, because that increases inequality. We'll be right back. In Wisconsin, they're not done marching. Next stop, Paul Ryan's hometown. Now, if this was, right-wingers, of course, it would be all over the media. I haven't seen it on television. Maybe it's out there. I don't know, but I think it deserves a whole lot more publicity. Jim in Waynesboro, Virginia. Jim, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I want to differ with you a little bit. How does the NRA promote gun sales?
By buying politicians who make it easier for people to buy and own guns and sell guns.
How's it making it easier?
By fighting any attempt to regulate guns.
Well, how are you going to, okay, tell me what the regulation should be.
Well, I think at the very beginning we should go back to the assault weapons ban that both Bill Clinton and George W. Bush had for 4 or 5 years each of their administrations, and just say weapons of war should not be allowed in the United States. Large magazines. I mean, when the soldiers go out in Afghanistan, their magazines carry 20 shots. Why is it that the Vegas gunman and Adam Lanza in Newtown can get 50 shot magazines? That's nuts. Why are we selling weapons of war on the streets of America? But the NRA promotes that. They fight any effort to limit magazine size. Well,
they do not.
They absolutely do, Jim, and you know it.
No way.
Okay, Jim. I'm sorry. You just don't know what you're talking about. Spike in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Hey, Spike, what's up?
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Jim. First of all, and it's not what I called about. You're absolutely correct regarding the tax rate, the inequality and violence, pay for teachers, education crisis.
As inequality goes up, violence goes up, and we've seen inequality going up ever since Reagan dropped the top tax rate from 74% down to 25%. That was the point at which we started seeing CEOs and celebrities and everybody else getting obscenely rich, morbidly rich, rather than simply wealthy. And as that money goes to the top, it comes out of the middle class and the bottom. It is, to a certain extent, a zero-sum game, and poverty and inequality is increased, and that does lead to an increase in violence. Absolutely. Back to you, Spike.
I do agree. I do remember those days. But what I called about, I think I may have a solution to this gun crisis. Actually, it was floated by an associate of mine I don't know how accurate he is. Perhaps you can clear this up for me. He was telling me that in the early years of the country, landowners were required to own 2 rifles, one to be held at home for hunting, etc., second to be stored in an armory to be used in the event of the need for some sort of military action, thereby the well-regulated militia. Now, whether that's true or not, I think
it's not true. There was a law passed in 1798 which required all men 17 to 47 years old to own a gun so that they could be members of a well-regulated militia. That law was never enforced, and it was taken off the books in like 1950. But it was never enforced. It was just ignored. Guns were really expensive in the late 1700s and throughout the 19th century. They were really expensive, and so they were very, very rare.
Well, you know, to all those Second Amendment guys, I would say right now we do have a well-regulated militia in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Merchant Marines. But
and the
anyway,
National Guard. The National Guard is the remnant of the state militias. It's you know what used to be the slave patrols in the South and the state militias in the North. We call that the National Guard. And you know, hey, if you're a member of the National Guard, the Second Amendment guarantees you a right to have a weapon. I'm fine with that.
Right, exactly. Now, here's what we do now. Have all the owners of the semi-automatic weapons or just a semi-automatic rifle store those weapons in an armory or some sort of repository. And when they want to fire them, they travel there, fire them there in a controlled environment, clean them or pay somebody to do it for them, leave them there, go home, and hopefully have, you know, gotten rid of all their aggression so they're not kicking the dog and smacking around their wife.
Yeah. The response to that, Spike, is going to be, what do I do when the guy kicks in my door at 3 o'clock in the morning to rob my house? And the answer, real simply, is, you know, if first of all, those kind of things are very, very rare. But secondly, is if there were fewer guns in society, you would not have to worry about the guy who's trying to rob your house carrying a gun. You know, burglars in most developed countries don't carry guns, and burglary is a fairly rare thing, you know, at least when somebody's home. And but you know, the whole militia argument is, you know, I think what we need to do is just recognize that in a society where there are a lot of guns, which is increasingly the United States of America, the more guns you have, the more gun violence you're going to have. It's just that simple. You're never going to stop violence. But, you know, what is very often a fist fight or a barroom fight or a domestic, you know, argument or fight turns deadly simply because there's a gun there. It's so easy to grab it, and guns are insanely lethal. I mean, they're designed to do one thing: kill people or kill animals, to kill things. And
absolutely. I remember back when I was a kid, we're about the same age. I was born in 1950. When I was growing up, you know, it was rare even in a fight for somebody to pull out a knife, let alone a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't sportsmanlike, for if nothing else. I mean, you know, if you want to fight by pulling out a knife or a gun, then you know, you didn't have the approval of the crowd, as it were. Spike, thanks for the call. Interesting suggestion. I appreciate the call. We'll be right back. It's coming up on the top of the hour here. The march is continuing. The next 4 days, the students are marching to Paul Ryan's hometown. Let's see how this works out.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by EcoWine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, EcoWine.com.
Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242.
Or visit tomsbeats.com.
It's the third and final week of the Free Speech TV fundraising drive and membership drive and all that kind of stuff. And special thanks to David Q from Castle Rock, Colorado, who joined the Builders Circle by giving $1,000 last Friday, or I believe it was Friday last week, maybe over the weekend. And, and thank you to you if you have already called 877-378-8669 and made a contribution to Free Speech TV. We're in this last week here. We're still a little behind, but we're doing good. We're doing, so far it's very positive. I'm hopeful that this final week we can raise that additional $50,000 and make this thing work. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We're not talking about a lot of money here. I mean, it's the Free Speech TV's budget is smaller than some public radio stations, some of the larger ones around the country. I know it's smaller than that of Oregon Public Broadcasting, for example. And I believe we have a whole lot more viewers. So please call now, 877-378-8669. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of a bumper sticker, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, or the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 contribution, Love Conquers Hate is the lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign. It's a jewelry-style clutch pin back. And you get the Free Speech TV blue grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all 4 bumper stickers, Free Speech TV, This Is Not Normal, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $120 gift, and these can be split up over 12 months, by the way. That would be $10 a month for a year, a commitment to, for a year of $10 a month, which is not a whole lot of money. Well, it is for some people, I realize, but, for most people, $10 a month is something that is a lot easier to handle than writing a $120 check. Anyhow, with the $120, you get an autographed photo that Louise took of me in Cuba in front of a painting of Fidel, and you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by me. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV t-shirt, small, medium, large, or extra large. It's gray. It says Building a Just World on the front and Standing with Unity on the back. It has the Free Speech TV logo. You also get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, and you get my book Unequal Protection autographed, and Bonnie Siegler's book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America. With then that's $240 gift, which also can be $20 a month for a year. With a $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, you get the photo from Cuba. You get me doing this. You get the autographed book Unequal Protection, a book I wrote about basically how the Supreme Court handed civil rights to corporations. Let's see, $360 gift. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to our podcast so that you can listen to this show, all 3 hours of it commercial-free, pretty much anytime, anywhere. The podcasts play on any kind of, Android device, Mac, iPhones, iPods, you name it. If it's portable, and you can, or even if it's not, you can play them on your computer. And you can listen to all 3 hours of the show commercial-free. Something we normally sell. That's one of the few things that we sell here out of this program is our podcasts. And this is with the $360 gift or $30 a month for a year. You get a 1-year subscription to that. You get 4 bumper stickers, all 4 of the bumper stickers. The Thom Hartmann University, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus. And This Is Not Normal, and the Free Speech TV logo. With a $480 gift, or $40 a month for a year, you get a DVD of Louise and I in Cuba, Tom and Louise's Excellent Adventure. It's really mostly Cubans telling us about Cuba. There's just some fascinating interviews. And we're not selling this, we're not publishing it, we're not putting it on television or anything like that. It's only available to people who make a $480 contribution or commit to $40 a month for a year here on Free Speech TV. You also get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the Black Lives Matter book by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt, Building a Just World, the logo. And you can specify small, medium, large, or extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland here, and I'll take you to lunch. You can sit in on the studio, hang out with us. We brought a couch in for people, for our studio audience, as it were, and which would be you if you make a $1,000 gift and you'd like to come to see Portland. If you're going to come see Portland, by the way, spend an extra day and visit the town, and watch Portlandia before you do so, because it's actually a pretty good depiction of this town. Anyhow, thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV. Please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you.
Want to connect with the show online? You can find the Thom Hartmann Program on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. One of the headlines over at Raw Story: megachurch pastor receives standing ovation after insisting sexual misconduct claims are flat-out lies. He's not even talking about Trump. He's apparently talking about himself. Oh, man. The $1.05, that's what Marco Rubio, that's, the number of students in Florida divided by the amount of money that divided into, rather, the amount of money that Marco Rubio took from the National Rifle Association, the NRA. But I think this is absolutely brilliant. I've read it at the beginning of the program. I want to read it again. I know people tune in and tune out throughout the day, the program, and so many of you didn't hear this. This is one of the signs that was held yesterday at one of the protests. I got the picture over at democraticulnderground.com. Somebody posted it. It's kind of crowdsourced stuff. And it says, how about we treat every young man who wants to buy a gun like every woman who wants to get an abortion? You got a mandatory 48-hour waiting period. It requires parental permission. You have to have a note from your doctor proving that he understands what he's about to do. He has to watch a video about the effects of gun violence, and an ultrasound wand up his butt just because, right? Let's close down all but one gun shop in every state and make him travel hundreds of miles, take time off work, and stay overnight in a strange town to get a gun. Make him walk through a gauntlet of people holding photos of loved ones who were shot to death, people who call him a murderer, and beg him not to buy a gun. Makes more sense to do this with young men and guns than with women in healthcare, right? I mean, no woman getting an abortion has killed a room full of people in seconds, right? And then the attribution is unknown, which raises an interesting thought. I mean, the forced pregnancy people are always out in front of abortion clinics, right? I mean, literally every day. There's a group of people out in front of every abortion clinic in the country, with signs and yelling and whatnot. When are people going to start showing up in front of gun stores? When are the protests going to start standing in front of, for example, Walmart, the largest seller of guns in the United States? When is that going to happen? Has anybody even thought of that? And then the other was this paraphrasing of Matthew 25. It's a picture of Jesus holding an AR-15. And the quote says, "For I was hungry and you cut my food stamps. I was a stranger and you deported me. I was sick and you denied me health care. I was a child afraid to go to school and you voted for the NRA."
And the child afraid to go to school part, I think, is very, very consequential. We have now, I've read several of these reports on the air, that some schools in this country are doing, well, I guess all schools are doing lockdown drills, where, you know, you pretend that there's a shooter in the school, and what do? We lock the door, you know, bolt a, you know, put a chair or a table next to it so it's harder to open, hide in the corner, all that kind of stuff. But in some schools, the principal even runs around and bangs on the walls or you know, pounds on the doors and things, or maybe it's the school resource officer or whatever, scaring the absolute crap out of the kids. Now, I remember in 1956, when I was in first grade, I remember duck and cover. The bell would go off and we'd all jump under our desks and put our hands over our eyes and our thumbs over our ears so that we weren't deafened and blinded by the nuclear blast. But, you know, duck and cover, we had a little cartoon character who did these ads that we saw. Duck and cover. Remember, you know, if you're old enough, you remember that. And it was a game, you know. I mean, it wasn't terrifying. We didn't think that our school was about to be incinerated. We didn't know of any other schools that had been incinerated. You know, this was well, just in case the president can't control things, right? Which is a completely different thing from what the kids today are experiencing. And I believe that these lockdown drills that we're doing in the United States, which no other country on earth does, by the way, let that sink in, that these lockdown drills are going to create an entire generation of kids who are going to have post-traumatic stress disorder their whole lives. It's going to affect their relationships. It's going to affect their ability to be in the workplace. You know, you're going to see higher levels of drug use and drug abuse. You know, more people going on long-term use of SSRI drugs, which has a whole another set of problems. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. Okay, I spent most of the first hour ranting about this. You know, I also mentioned the Stormy Daniels thing. And once again, my tweet to Stormy Daniels, I heard she's on Twitter rather. I said, "Dear @Stormy Daniels, thanks for letting us know that real Donald Trump pays attention and does what he's told when he's spanked. Please contact General Kelly and instruct him in the proper technique." It just seems like a reasonable thing to do. You know, I mean, you know, why not? But there are other things in the news also that I thought, you know, were worthy of note. The Mueller probe is looking into whether a politician, whether the United Arab Emirates gave millions of dollars to a guy working, you know, with Trump, one of Trump's political advisors, and in turn, this guy George Nader, who is now flipped and he's working with Mueller. And George Nader, by the way, in the past has been like convicted of child pornography. This guy is, or possession, I guess it was. This guy and Elliot Brody are like, you know, big guys, or were big guys in the Trump organization, and not the organization, but in the campaign. And Brody sponsored a conference on Qatar's alleged ties to Islamic extremism. During the event, Republican Congressman Ed Royce of California, chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, announced he was introducing legislation that would brand Qatar as a terrorist-supporting state. This is after Brody gave him the maximum campaign contribution allowable by law. The donations were just part of 6. This is from the Associated Press today. The donation, the headline, Mueller probe witness secretly backed UAE agenda in Congress. The donations are just were part of just under $600,000 that Brody had given to Republican members of Congress and Republican political committees since he began the push for legislation fingering Qatar, according to an AP analysis of campaign finance disclosure records. This is, you know, if the Trump administration is so corrupt that they will join with the UAE and Saudi Arabia in trying to take down Qatar, a country where we've got the biggest military base in the Middle East, right? We're taking down our own ally. If the Trump administration is so corrupt, they're going to allow Saudi Arabia and the UAE to buy them, and the Republican Party, for that matter. I mean, this guy has given $600,000 to a whole variety of Republican members, exclusively Republicans, according to the Associated Press. We have a serious problem in this country. And to highlight that, I mean, I thought the biggest news story last week was the guy who's running Saudi Arabia, right? The Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, the crown prince. The king is still the king, but the king is old and frail, and he just said, okay, he's in charge. So he's functionally the king. And he is bragging to his friends, and there's multiple sources for this, and it's been well reported by credible news sources. He's bragging to his friends that he owns Jared Kushner, and that Jared Kushner was the one who provided him with the top secret U.S. intelligence that was the names of the people in Saudi Arabia who opposed Prince Mohammed bin Salman becoming the head guy, because there were two princes. There was this competition. And these guys were the ones that he arrested in the Hyatt, and I think it was the Hyatt, maybe it was whatever it was. And one was tortured to death, according to some news reports, and several of them, got pretty bad treatment. And this was because Jared Kushner took top secret information and gave it to him? If this is true, and I hope Mueller's looking into this, if this is true, this is so, so, so very wrong. And finally, we get mail from Donald Trump. This, Dear Fred Flintstone. Let's see, which one? The first one is actually from Donald Trump himself. It's got his picture and it's signed Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. It should be President of the United States of America, because there's other countries, but in any case. Fred, 2018 is our chance to elect Trump allies to the House and Senate who will give you the agenda you voted for. No more obstruction. We want what we voted for. Wait a minute. He wants us to elect Republicans to the House and Senate because the Republicans don't control the House and Senate? Somebody needs to tell Trump that you already control the House and Senate. He says, but it cannot happen unless we put up great candidates who stand by our values and prove to America that they have the fire to fight to make America great again. So I need you to tell me qualities you want to see in 2018 candidates by taking my great candidate survey right now. Of course, you take the survey, some simple questions, and then they ask you for money. So it's money that they're using, by the way, to pay for Don Jr.'s legal expenses. Back to Donald Trump's email. So many political geniuses out there would call up some overpaid consultant in D.C. to figure out what the people want. I have a better idea. To find out what the people want, let's ask the people. Doesn't that make sense? That's why it's so critical that I hear what you think about the kinds of allies you want to see elected in the critical 28-term midterm elections. So please take my great candidate survey immediately. Thank you, Donald J. Trump. And then I get this other message. This is from Brad Parscale, campaign manager, Donald J. Trump for President 2020. Dear Fred Flintstone, did you see the president's message? The message is, it's a tweet from Donald Trump. It says, hundreds of good people, including very important ambassadors and judges, are being blocked and or slow-walked by the Democrats in the Senate. Many important positions in government are unfilled because of this obstruction, worst in U.S. history. Right? No, it's not the worst in U.S. history. I'm sorry. Merrick Garland being obstructed for a year is the worst in history. Over 150 federal judges being appointed and not allowed, and the appointments being allowed to expire at the end of the Obama administration, because for 2 years, Mitch McConnell was blocking all judicial appointments put up by President Obama. Anyhow, back to the Donald J. Trump email. Fred, did you see the president's message? This is the one I just read you. With half of President Trump's nominees still unconfirmed. Only half? Jeez. Come on, get with it here, Chuck Schumer. You've stop more. With half of President Trump's nominees still unconfirmed, Democrats are now holding our judicial system hostage, preventing the U.S. from carrying out critical foreign policy and sabotaging in all caps the governance of our countries. Democrats in the Senate are embarrassing the United States on an international scale with their petty obstructionism, and Americans are sick of it. Tell the Democrats to end obstruction now. Right, and then it says here, Fred Flintstone and my email address, and sign your name to the petition. Tell Democrats, stop obstructing. Right.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And Jimmy Carter has been doing some amazing stuff that I want to tell you about. There's just so much going on. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Mark in Valley, Washington. Hey, Mark, what's on your mind today? Thanks for watching Free Speech.
I respect your opinion immensely, Tom, but when it comes to this thing where you say that an armed populace can't hold off a government, I think the Viet Cong and the Iraqi insurgents and numerous other lessons in history would argue to say that you're wrong.
They held off, and I would say you're seeing this in Afghanistan and Iraq as well, they held off invading armies. And there is no doubt in my mind that if somebody invaded the United States, that, you know, there are a lot of people who would take to the streets, and many of them would take guns. But, you know, if we wanted to do that, we have huge armories. You know, I mean, if we were invaded by, what, Canada, let's say? I mean, I'm not sure who's going to invade us, but if we were invaded by Canada or Mexico, which are basically the only two countries I think that have any reasonable opportunity to invade us, you would see America fighting back really fast. You know, this is such a phony baloney argument, Mark.
Well, I don't know, Tom, because if this government goes fascist, which I've heard you make the argument it's heading that way numerous times.
If this government goes fascist, if you have a gun, you're going to be one of the first people they put in prison.
Well, would you rather be Anne Frank or the Jews that fought back in the Warsaw Ghetto?
It doesn't matter. You're dead either way.
Well,
what we need to do, Mark, instead of no, hang on just a second, Mark. You've got it backwards. Instead of getting weapons in case our government goes fascist, we need to get politically active so that our government doesn't go fascist.
I'm doing both.
Okay. Well, good luck.
There's no guarantee that we can stop the ball that's been put into motion either.
Which ball? You're talking about the Trump?
I'm talking about Trump releasing the hatred and fascism onto this country. I mean. Yeah. I just heard a statistic that murders of homosexual men has gone up 200% since he's been in office, and I mean, hate crimes have gone up 400%. You know, sometimes when you release the genie, you can't get it back in the bottle.
I understand that, and I understand why someone in this society, you know, a reasonable person, might want a gun for self-defense, and I'm not absolutely opposed to that. I just think that it needs to be at least as difficult to get a gun as it is to get an abortion. What's wrong with that?
I'm all for making it harder for people to get guns. I'm not for outlawing guns.
Yeah.
I got no problem with good background checks and all that kind of stuff.
You know, the countries that I'm quoting, Mark, have not outlawed guns. You know, you can buy a gun in Australia, you can buy a gun in France, you can buy a gun in Germany, you can buy a gun in Norway. It's just difficult. You have to demonstrate that you actually have a need for it, or you have to jump through. If you just want it because you want it for personal protection, then you have to jump through enough hoops that we as a society are satisfied that you're not one of those nutty people who's going to use that gun to kill your wife or to walk into a school or a shopping mall, you know, and kill a bunch of people. What's wrong with that?
No, there's nothing wrong with that. But the thing about outlawing guns and getting it to stop these killings is you're forgetting that there's 300 million guns already in circulation. What
there
are you
were
doing
lots.
About all the weapons that are already out there?
You do a national gun buyback program just like Australia did.
And what if people don't want to sell their guns back?
Well, you know, we sort of did the same thing in 1933 when we outlawed machine guns. And although we didn't do a gun buyback, but what happened was people got rid of their machine guns because they didn't want to be arrested for possession of something illegal. It's like if you discover that all of a sudden something in your house could end you up in jail for 5 or 10 years, you get rid of it. And you know, the country makes it a lot easier by saying, oh, by the way, we'll pay you for whatever you paid for it. You know, we will, you know, hold you harmless. You will not be hurt financially. Mark, thanks for the call. We'll be right back. It's 22 minutes past the hour. I promised you some Jimmy Carter news, the finest president of my lifetime, Jimmy Carter. And, you know, one of these days I often, it's been probably 6 months or maybe even a year since I've done it, but I often play Jimmy Carter's speech on energy. And, you know, when he put the solar panels up on the White House that Ronald Reagan took down as one of his first acts of office. And Jimmy Carter continues to amaze us all. The South Sudan, I've been to South Sudan. I was there, Ellen Ratner and I, and you know, Rusty Humphreys, and well, there was a bunch of us who, in fact, my son Justin went with us too. We went to South Sudan, you know, just right after the war, right after the Civil War. It had just become an independent country. In fact, we were there around the time of the vote on this. It might have been just before because Justin and I brought back ballots. I think it was just after. But in any case, you know, we flew up to Gok Machar up in the north. We were 500 miles from the nearest road and the nearest electricity. And we were in a town of 7,000 people near the border with Darfur that had grown to 40,000 refugees. And we flew in with food. and mosquito nets and stuff like that. And one of the problems South Sudan had was this god-awful disease called guinea worm. I met a little boy who had guinea worm disease, and there was this giant ulcer in his leg. It looked like somebody had just taken a giant hole out of his leg. Guinea worm, you get it from drinking water that has the larvae in it, which are almost microscopic. They're very small. You can't see them. And you drink contaminated water. They get inside your body, and they grow to be a couple feet long, and eventually they burst out through the skin. But they eat you in the process. It's insanely painful. And when the worms are coming out, it's so painful, people run to stand in the water to reduce the pain. And of course, that causes the worm to release millions of larvae into the water, which starts the cycle all over again. So Jimmy Carter, the Carter Center, said, that's it. We're going to stop guinea worm. And they have. This, from today's New York Times, actually it was from March 22nd, but it's in the New York Times, Donald G. McNeil, South Sudan halts spread of crippling guinea worm. South Sudan, the world's youngest nation, appears to have stopped guinea worm disease within its borders, the country's health minister announced Wednesday. Having known the suffering inflicted, one is very happy today. The minister, Dr. Guy Koch, said, future generations will only read of guinea worms in the books as history. He made the announcement in Atlanta at the Carter Center, a philanthropy founded by former President Jimmy Carter that leads the effort to eliminate the parasitic worm. Only 30 worm infestations were detected last year. 15 in Chad, 15 in Ethiopia. When Mr. Carter began the eradication drive in 1986, there were an estimated 3.5 million cases of guinea worm. We went from 3.5 million cases to last year, 30, and none in South Sudan anymore. This is what a genuine president does. This is what a noble man does. This is incredible. Linda in St. Charles, Illinois. Hey, Linda, we have a minute to the break. What's up?
Yes, I was calling about the Stormy Daniels. You said no one was calling in.
Yeah.
I think I have a reason for that. The reason is that nobody cares. Just like all of these atrocities that are happening in the White House right now with Trump. People like myself think that you can go out and you can protest and all these things will happen, but not before we can get him out of there.
Yeah.
And I think...
Do you think it's that nobody cares, or do you think it's that people are overwhelmed because he's just constantly spinning the news cycle?
Well, I think they are. They think they're overwhelmed, but they just don't think that anything's going to come of it. And it's unfortunate. You were just talking about Carter, who was a wonderful president and all the things that he's done in his lifetime.
He's the only president since Eisenhower who didn't declare a war someplace just for political purposes.
Exactly. And we don't have anyone in the presidency, in the White House, who's like that. This man doesn't care. I'll just tell you very quickly, I watched a program on Jimmy Kimmel one time, and they were doing an interview right before the elections, how they go out on the street and they talk to people. Mm-hmm. They interviewed certain people, and they kept coming back to this woman who was a real staunch Trump supporter. Mm-hmm. They finally came back and said to him, if he came and murdered someone, would you still vote for him? No hesitation. She said, yes, I would.
Yeah, this has become, well, and this is what Cambridge Analytica did so well, is they didn't sell him based on issues. They sold him based on tribe. And that's what the right wing has done in this country so well with right-wing hate radio and Fox so-called news, is they've created a cult, basically.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Very insightful, Linda. Thank you for the call, and thanks for listening to WCPT. We'll be right back. It's coming up on 28 minutes past the hour. It's the third and final week of the Free Speech TV fundraising drive and membership drive and all that kind of stuff. And special thanks to David Q from Castle Rock, Colorado, who joined the Builders Circle by giving $1,000 last Friday, or I believe it was Friday last week, maybe over the weekend. And, and thank you to you if you have already called 877-378-8669 and made a contribution to Free Speech TV. We're in this last week here. We're still a little behind, but we're doing good. We're doing, so far it's very positive. I'm hopeful that this final week we can raise that additional $50,000 and make this thing work.
So please call now, 877-378-8669. We're not talking about a lot of money here. I mean, you know, it's the Free Speech TV's budget is smaller than some public radio stations, you know, some of the larger ones around the country. I know it's smaller than that of Oregon Public Broadcasting, for example. And I believe we have a whole lot more viewers. So please call now, 877-378-8669. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of a bumper sticker, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, or the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 contribution, Love Conquers Hate is the lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign. It's a jewelry-style clutch pin back. And you get the Free Speech TV blue grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all 4 bumper stickers, Free Speech TV, This Is Not Normal, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $120 gift, and these can be split up over 12 months, by the way. That would be $10 a month for a year, a commitment to, you know, for a year of $10 a month, which is not a whole lot of money. Well, it is for some people, I realize, but, you know, for most people, $10 a month is something that is a lot easier to handle than writing a $120 check. Anyhow, with the $120, you get an autographed photo that Louise took of me in Cuba in front of a painting of Fidel, and you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by me. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV t-shirt, small, medium, large, or extra large. It's gray. It says Building a Just World on the front and Standing with Unity on the back, and has the Free Speech TV logo. You also get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, and you get the my book Unequal Protection autographed, and Bonnie Siegler's book Signs of Resistance: A Visual History of Protest in America. With a and that's $240 gift, which also can be $20 a month for a year. With the $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, you get the photo from Cuba. You get the me doing this. You get the book, autographed book, Unequal Protection, book I wrote about basically how the Supreme Court handed civil rights to corporations. Let's see, $360 gift. You get the book, When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to our podcast, so that you can listen to this show, all 3 hours of it commercial-free, pretty much anytime, anywhere. The podcasts play on any kind of, Android device, Mac, iPhones, iPods, you name it. If it's portable, and you can, or even if it's not, you can play them on your computer. You can listen to all 3 hours of the show commercial-free. Something we normally sell. That's one of the few things that we sell here out of this program is our podcasts. And this is with the $360 gift or $30 a month for a year. You get a 1-year subscription to that. You get 4 bumper stickers, all 4 of the bumper stickers. The Thom Hartmann University, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus. And This Is Not Normal, and the Free Speech TV logo. With a $480 gift, or $40 a month for a year, you get a DVD of Louise and I in Cuba, Tom and Louise's Excellent Adventure. It's really mostly Cubans telling us about Cuba. There's just some fascinating interviews. And we're not selling this, we're not publishing it, we're not putting it on television or anything like that. It's only available to people who make a $480 contribution or commit to $40 a month for a year here on Free Speech TV. You also get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the Black Lives Matter book by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance: A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get the Free Speech TV t-shirt, Building a Just World, the logo. And you can specify small, medium, large, or extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland here, and I'll take you to lunch. You can sit in the studio, hang out with us. We brought a couch in for people, for our studio audience, as it were, and which would be you if you make a $1,000 gift and you'd like to come to see Portland. If you're going to come see Portland, by the way, spend an extra day and visit the town, and watch Portlandia before you do so, because it's actually a pretty good depiction of this town. Anyhow, thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV. Please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Okay? Our bizarre politicians, little Ricky Santorum, he who brought a miscarried fetus home and put it in a jar on the over the fireplace in his home for his children to observe. Seriously, that's how bizarre Rick Santorum is. Rick Santorum says that instead of getting rid of guns, kids should learn CPR. Right, CPR is really going to help when somebody's bleeding out from a gunshot wound. Now, it's going to increase the rate at which they're bleeding out. We need to get rid of the guns. Steve King, the representative, the congressman from Iowa, who used to regularly come on this program, he's refused to the last few years. On his Facebook page, someone managing his Facebook's campaign page posted this, quote, and he's talking about Emma Gonzalez, the young woman, the young bisexual, shaved head, Cuban-American teenager. She's in the cover of Time magazine this week. I mean, one of the real heroes of this movement, Emma Gonzalez. And this is on Steve King's Facebook page. This is how you look when you claim Cuban heritage, yet don't speak Spanish and ignore the fact that your ancestors fled the island when the dictatorship turned Cuba into a prison camp after removing all weapons from its citizens, hence their right to self-defense. Right. This is nuts. It's breathtaking how these guys, they're just flailing about. And meanwhile, David Hogg of Parkland, Florida, one of the leaders of this movement, the Never Again movement, he is calling for everyone, that's you, that's me, that's everyone, to call on their member of Congress to have a town hall on April 7th. His tweet says, got it. Everyone should call for a town hall with their representative on April 7th. Your town hall should be 2 hours and start between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Call your rep today to organize it, and if they refuse to show up, just invite their opponents. Let's go. And the Twitter handle is @TownHallProject. And they're going to make this happen. This is, Bernie used to, at least once a month on this program for 11 years, Bernie Sanders used to say, what you need to do is go to your local school, go to your local town hall, wherever they've got a room that you can get for free, and typically a library, a school, town hall, you can quote rent a room, and if it's not free, then it's typically just cheap, $100 or something. Get a room, contact your member of Congress, and say we've got hundreds of people who are going to show up for a town hall meeting at City Hall on April 7th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and if you're not there, we're going to invite your primary opponent and your opponent from the other party to come in your stead. Or if you're in Wisconsin, we're going to invite Mark Pocan to come, as he's been going into Paul Ryan's district and doing town halls because Paul Ryan refuses to, right? David Hogg is calling. This is the @TownHallProject. Go over there, check it out, follow them on Twitter. I am going to as soon as we hit the break at the top of the hour here. This is a movement. This is amazing. Randall in Oceanside, California. Hey, Randall, what's on your mind today?
Good morning, Tom. How are you doing today?
I'm well. What's up?
Well, I wanted to talk about something. You kind of brushed on it on your rant, and that's what we're losing out of all this with the gun violence in schools, or what the children are losing, and they're losing their childhood. They're losing their innocence.
Yep.
These 11-year-old children should not be up there giving speeches. They should be home playing with dolls or whatever. If they're boys skateboarding around, they should not have to make these decisions. They shouldn't even be aware of these type of situations.
Yeah, that little 11-year-old girl who gave the speech about, people are not paying attention to violence in the black community, and and all. She was brilliant. She was so good.
God, yes. And my heart goes out to all these kids. Vote, vote, vote. that's, what I want to say is I want to know if Marco Rubio realizes that when people give him money for his agenda, that his agenda is to rob our children of their youth, of their innocence.
Yeah, because that's exactly what's happening. It's a good question to ask Marco Rubio. The number is 202-225-3121 if you want to ask him, Randall. Randall, thank you for the call. Fred in Los Angeles. Hey, Fred, how are you? What's up?
All right, how are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I have a question, something that hasn't been touched on with regards to guns, which is what I don't understand. Now, I know I go back far enough to know that the assault weapon ban worked until it expired.
Yeah,
And
we saw during that 10-year period there was a decrease in gun deaths associated with high-capacity magazines and assault weapons. You're absolutely right, yes.
Right, and I always thought it was kind of stupid to have the expiration, but I know why they did that. But here's the problem now, and you haven't touched on it yet, which is how are you going to ban AR-15s and AK-47s when you now have 3D printing devices that can make them up?
Real easy. You ban them the same way you ban people making $100 bills on their printers, which, the printers are sophisticated enough these days that you can print a $100 bill, particularly if you can get the right paper, that, would fool most people. But you go to jail for a long, long time. That's how you prevent it. Very, very few people try to print funny money, right? I think very few people would try to print a gun. Make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Hopefully. Okay, good. Fred, thanks for the call. James in Spokane. Hey, James, what's up?
Good morning to you, Rabbi.
Thank you, James. What's up? I'm not Jewish, but I appreciate it. It's an honor.
A teacher. It's literally a teacher.
I know.
Okay. A quick levity first. Look, I've not traveled outside the USA. Maybe you could tell me, when us Caucasoid types go south of the equator, do we then become the colored people?
Oh, that's it depends on what country you're in, but I can tell you from having traveled all over the world, and having traveled rather extensively in South America and Africa and Southern Asia, and other places, but places where I would be in the minority, that white privilege is still alive and well. That in almost all those countries that I've been in, the most of the power structure is people with much lighter skin than the people who are the poorest people. And, racism is not limited to the United States. This is a worldwide epidemic.
Two short quotes, if I might. One from Shakespeare, one from Walt Whitman.
Sure.
The one that stuck with Shakespeare went from, I was a teenager. A fool thinks himself to be a wise man. A wise man knows himself to be a fool.
Brilliant.
Walt Whitman, this is what you shall do. Love the earth and silent animals. Despise riches. Stand up for the stupid and the crazy.
There you go. I love it. James, thank you. That was a very, very nice moment for the show. Thank you. Jared in Downingtown, Pennsylvania. Hey, Jared, you wanted to talk about John Bolton?
Yes, Tom. Normally, when I watch MSNBC, I expect that there's going to be corporate, bias. It's going to push war. It's going to push, McCarthyism. It's going to push, all this stuff.
Sure.
But when I saw the announcement of John Bolton on MSNBC, this is probably the first time in almost forever that I can remember that it was 100% spot on. Because when Chris Matthews compared John Bolton to Tojo, he was 100% correct.
Yeah, this is a guy who thinks the solution to every problem is to kill as many people as possible with a war.
My heart sank when I saw John Bolton was announced.
Yeah.
Because I knew that we are now going to probably, almost 100% go to war with
Trump
Iran
is putting together a war
and North
cabinet.
Korea.
And he's putting together a PR legal team because he knows he's going to be in big trouble and he's going to provoke a constitutional crisis. They're going to show that Donald Trump's business has been corrupt for years and years and years, that he's been taking money from oligarchs, Russian oligarchs, but others as well, that without that money from those oligarchs, much of which is laundered money or ill-gotten gains, he would not have a business. he would not be who he is, that he's probably not even worth $1. He's probably broke and massively in debt to these people, and that's why he's unwilling to criticize them. When Mueller's, comes out with this and then shows all the other, I was in Los Angeles over the weekend, and a good friend who's kind of well-connected in political circles made a comment to me that she had heard that part of what was going on with the Mueller investigation was that, or one of the possible outcomes would be the decapitation of the Trump regime, of the entire administration. That there are so many people in the Trump administration who have been corrupted by Donald Trump, or who are corrupt themselves and Trump brought them in, that Mueller's going to take out. And that it could even include Mike Pence, who is in charge of the presidential transition, which is when a lot of those contacts with the Russians were happening. And if that's the case, I think that Donald Trump is going to fight this. He's not going to go down, like Richard Nixon is. He's not going to resign. And he's going to fight it the way Bill Clinton fought it, basically, although, this is a whole much bigger thing than having consensual sex with an intern in the White House, right? I mean, this is a completely different order of magnitude. But if he fights this and he says, no, I have immunity, I have presidential immunity, you cannot remove me from office, you cannot prosecute me. See, this has never been tested by the Supreme Court. And even if the Supreme Court rules against him, I think he's going to do what Andrew Jackson, his hero, the guy whose picture he put up in the White House did. Andrew Jackson forbade, the Supreme Court, Roger Taney, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, forbade Andrew Jackson from murdering the Indians, from doing the Trail of Tears, from removing the Cherokees from Georgia and marching them in, all the way to Oklahoma. Forbade it. And Andrew Jackson, President Jackson, did it anyway and said, let Roger Taney find his own army if he wants to stop me. In other words, the Supreme Court has no police powers. Only the executive branch has the police powers. I'm very concerned about that, Jared. I see not just a constitutional crisis, an American crisis.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
And if Trump succeeds with that, the American presidency will never be the same. We will have accepted a corrupt president, and that is huge. And welcome back, Steve in Blacksburg, Virginia. Hey, Steve, thanks for watching Free Speech. What's up?
Yes, Tom, I love your show. I'm just so amazed by what I saw last weekend. I mean, those beautiful children. People could call them kids, but I actually consider them young adults, because we don't seem to have any adults in Washington nowadays.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, it's really a shame, as the caller earlier said, that 11-year-old girl, she should not be in front of an audience of 100,000 people fighting for her life. She should be hanging out with her friends. She should be studying for school. I mean,
playing on the playground.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, my God, they're
these kids are growing up way too fast.
Children, but the older ones, I mean, oh my God,
they're being forced to grow up.
I can only hope and pray that I live to be old enough to vote for Emma Gonzalez for president.
Well, yeah, she's got to be 35 in order for that to be the case. But
Right.
I see a number of those kids running for elective office in Florida, and I think they're going to take down Marco Rubio. I really do.
Well, I really think that in a couple of years, they are going to, the blue landslide that's already going to be coming this year,
I hope,
is only going to get bigger.
I hope. But the Republicans, they've redoubled their voter suppression efforts. They only kicked 100,000 to 200,000 people off the voting rolls in Wisconsin, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, and Pennsylvania just before the last election. They're aggressively working on it. Chris Kobach has not stopped interstate cross-check. Donald Trump has not stopped interstate cross-check. The Republican Party is doing everything they can for voter suppression. More states are acquiring voter ID laws, which we know can have as much as an 8% decrease in electoral turnout, mostly among young people, poor people, and elderly people, because they're the ones who don't have driver's licenses.
Well, we just need to double down and put our effort out to make sure that we are signed up to vote.
Yep.
And, yeah, they can't outrule the numbers.
Yeah. Well, and that's it, and that's what these young people are doing. I mean, the demonstration in Washington D.C. was larger than Donald Trump's inauguration, and I mean that's a really consequential thing.
By a long shot.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, all I saw was
it's an
bodies
ocean of people
for miles.
Yeah, I'm with you. Absolutely. Thank you very much for the call, Steve. Good talking to you. Michael in Santa Clarita, California. Hey, Michael, what's up?
Hi, first of all, when I heard you get the call from Lancaster, I went, uh-oh. But anyway, the states, they're laboratories, right?
Sure.
You look at Massachusetts, you look at California, we have some of the strongest gun laws in the nation, and we also had the fewest deaths per 100,000.
Yep, exactly. And then people say, well, what about Chicago? Well, the problem Chicago has is that Mike Pence's Indiana has gun stores right on the border between Indiana and that part of Illinois that is Chicago. So you can, you can drive 20 minutes and buy a gun in Indiana, and there's not, a border patrol or anything that's going to stop you. So guns are easily available in Chicago. In fact, more than I think it's more than half of all gun killings in Chicago are done with weapons that have been traced to gun stores in Indiana.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean it works. And people here in California still own guns.
Yeah, but not nearly as many. Michael, thank you for the call. A good one, an excellent point, because California has rational gun control laws. Just rational. I mean, they're even within the Heller decision. They fit within, and nobody's challenging them. We'll be right back. Bob Ney with Talk Media News is going to check in with us. Welcome back. Let's check in with Talk Media News and find out what's going on in the world. Today, this report brought to you by GoatsForTheOldGoat.com and Loving What You Do, a new book by Ellen Ratner. On the line with us is Bob Ney, the author of Sideswiped. Congressman, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Tom. How are you?
I am great, but I'll get better. I hope the same is true for you, Bob. And
I'm working on it, except for the appointment of John Bolton ruined my life. My year.
It's funny. My blood pressure went nuts on Friday, and I was trying to figure out why. Now I think I know. It's just,
have you seen the article yet by Jason? It's very powerful. Jason Rezaian. Have you seen that yet of the Washington Post?
Maybe not. What was the headline?
You can Google that. It was John Bolton, and it says it was paid by the cult he supported. And the reason I mention that, Jason was imprisoned, as we all know, a writer for the Washington Post. He was imprisoned in Iran. Just recently, of course, and then they freed him. He was unjustly imprisoned. Now, the reason I mention that, if anybody would dislike the regime in Iran, it would be he,
Sure.
After being in prison. He has wrote a scathing, wonderful article, actually, against John Bolton, mentioning the fact that John Bolton was paid by the Mujahideen Khalq, and known as the MEK, and Bolton was paid by them when, in fact, they were an official listed terrorist organization. How he escaped, imprisonment for that is beyond me, but he was. And he promoted them. And so Jason writes that, this is a group that even people who want regime change in Iran, they want to see a total democratic Iran, do not like this group. This is who Bolton promoted. And
wait a minute. Let me get this straight, Bob. Tell me if I have this right. You went to jail for failing to properly fill out paperwork for a golf vacation in Scotland with a bunch of Republicans, and what was his name? The big
Jack Abramoff.
Yeah, Jack Abramoff. You went to jail for that, for a paperwork screw-up, essentially. John Bolton was paid by a terrorist organization designated by the U.S. State Department as a terrorist organization, and he has not answered for that? Do I have this right?
Oh, that's correct. And a lot of people, let me make it clear, were paid by this group, but he advocated illegally for this group because you were not, at that time, now they have been decertified, so they're not on the terrorist list, but he advocated at the time publicly for them when it was not allowed, when it was illegal to advocate for them. Even if he was paid or not paid, he advocated for them illegally.
I hope somebody points that out to Mr. Mueller.
Yes. Well, I don't know if Mueller will do anything, but I mean, that's just part of the laundry list of Bolton. And when you look at the history of Bolton, Even George Bush didn't want him. Condoleezza Rice refused to take him as her number 2. He was brought strictly, and this is the most important fact of John Bolton, there was only one reason that George Bush finally was berated and pushed, etc., to bring him into the administration as an ambassador, to the United Nations, and that was because Dick Cheney promoted him, wanted him, pushed him, and forced President Bush to bring John Bolton in. Now, they couldn't get the votes out of the Republican Senate to confirm him, so he was a recess appointment. Then he went away later. The late Senator George Voinovich of Ohio, Republican, is the one who led the charge originally to say that under no circumstances could John Bolton be in this position. And so he's had this history, weapons of mass destruction. He was one of the leading components behind it.
He was the cheerleader for invade Iraq because they have WMD.
That was it. And bomb Iran. I mean, he literally has wanted regime change by bombing. He wanted a preemptive strike on North Korea. Yeah. I mean, the man has nothing but war on his mind.
You want a Shia equivalent of ISIS in Iran? All you have to do is start bombing Tehran. It will emerge.
Exactly. And this man now has the presidency here. I think of anything, look, the tariffs, Donald Trump, President Trump did the tariffs, there's some things that we can look at. But of any of the mistakes that President Trump has made, this one, in at least my opinion, I think the opinion of a lot of people in the media and members of Congress, this one can be fatal. Because this man will, if given a chance, start a war. He'll do it in any possible way he can. It was literally beyond me when I read that they had actually given him this position. And it's the NSA because he could never get through the appointment process.
Bob, I mean, you were in Congress for years and years. You know a lot of these people. You were inside the Republican Party. You're not any longer. I so respect your opinion on these issues. I want to run something by you.
Yes.
It's looking to me, Trump tried to hire these 2 Fox lawyers. It turned out that they said no, but Trump tried to hire a couple of basically PR lawyers, TV lawyers. And John Dowd has left his legal team, so he's down to one guy defending him. I suspect that when, and I think it's a when, not an if, let's say if, Mueller comes out with some kind of clear indictable offense for Donald Trump, whether it's money laundering, something having to do with his business, or whether it's collusion with Russians or other actors, WikiLeaks or whatever during the campaign, or whatever it may be. If Mueller comes out with something that certainly is far more impeachable than getting a BJ from an intern, then I think that Donald Trump is going to say, tough luck. You can't prosecute me. I'm declaring immunity, which has never been resolved by the Supreme Court. And even if the Supreme Court rules against him, as they did against Andrew Jackson in the Trail of Tears case, I think he's going to do exactly what his role model, Andrew Jackson, whose painting hangs right behind his head in the Oval Office, I think he's going to do what Andrew Jackson did, which is say to the Supreme Court, tough luck. You guys, I have the Army, not you. Try to enforce your decision. And only I think this time around, I mean, no president since Andrew Jackson has copied what Jackson did. But this time around, it could transform the presidency forever. What do you think?
Oh, I think it can come to a complete constitutional crisis stalemate. And I can't overemphasize, bringing somebody like Bolton in here sends a very chilling message about what extremes people will go to, because this is an extreme.
Do you think Trump would do what I just described?
I think it's very possible he would.
Yeah.
Sure.
And do you think that the Republican Party would support him?
No. I think at that point in time that they wouldn't. Again, we would head towards a constitutional crisis, and they could try impeachment. He could still fight that, too, of course.
Yeah. Well, that's where we're going to find out who really owns the Republican Party, I guess, when that happens. Bob, it's always great talking with you. Bob Ney, the author of Sideswiped. Congressman, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We'll be back. It's coming up on the top of the hour here. Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242
or visit tomsbeets.com.
It's the third and final week of the Free Speech TV fundraising drive and membership drive and all that kind of stuff. And special thanks to David Q from Castle Rock, Colorado, who joined the Builders Circle by giving $1,000 last Friday, or I believe it was Friday last week, maybe over the weekend. And, and thank you to you if you have already called 877-378-8669 and made a contribution to Free Speech TV. We're in this last week here. We're still a little behind, but we're doing good. We're doing, so far it's very positive. I'm hopeful that this final week we can raise that additional $50,000 and make this thing work. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We're not talking about a lot of money here. I mean, the Free Speech TV's budget is smaller than some public radio stations, some of the larger ones around the country. I know it's smaller than that of Oregon Public Broadcasting, for example. And I believe we have a whole lot more viewers. So please call now, 877-378-8669. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of a bumper sticker, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, or the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 contribution, Love Conquers Hate is the lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign. It's a jewelry-style clutch pin back. And you get the Free Speech TV blue grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all 4 bumper stickers, Free Speech TV, This Is Not Normal, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $120 gift, and these can be split up over 12 months, by the way. That would be $10 a month for a year, a commitment to, for a year of $10 a month, which is not a whole lot of money. Well, it is for some people, I realize, but, for most people, $10 a month is something that is a lot easier to handle than writing a $120 check. Anyhow, with the $120, you get an autographed photo that Louise took of me in Cuba in front of a painting of Fidel, and you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by me. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV t-shirt, small, medium, large, or extra large. It's gray. It says Building a Just World on the front and Standing with Unity on the back, and has the Free Speech TV logo. You also get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, and you get my book Unequal Protection autographed, and Bonnie Siegler's book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America. With and that's $240 gift, which also can be $20 a month for a year. With the $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, you get the photo from Cuba, you get me doing this. You get the autographed book, Unequal Protection, book I wrote about basically how the Supreme Court handed civil rights to corporations. Let's see, $360 gift. You get the book, When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to our podcast, so that you can listen to this show, all 3 hours of it commercial-free, pretty much anytime, anywhere. The podcasts play on any kind of, Android device, Mac, iPhones, iPods, You name it. If it's portable and you can, or even if it's not, you can play them on your computer. And you can listen to all 3 hours of the show commercial free. Something we normally sell. That's one of the few things that we sell here out of this program is our podcasts. And this is with the $360 gift or $30 a month for a year. You get a 1-year subscription to that. You get 4 bumper stickers, all 4 of the bumper stickers. The Thom Hartmann University, elect a clown, expect a circus. And this is not normal, and the Free Speech TV logo. With a $480 gift or $40 a month for a year, you get a DVD of Louise and I in Cuba, Tom and Louise's excellent adventure. It's really mostly Cubans telling us about Cuba. There's just some fascinating interviews. And we're not selling this, we're not publishing it, we're not putting it on television or anything like that. It's only available to people who make a $480 contribution or commit to $40 a month for a year here on Free Speech TV. You also get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the Black Lives Matter book by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get the Free Speech TV T-shirt, Building a Just World, the logo. And you can specify small, medium, large, or extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland here, and I'll take you to lunch. You can sit in the studio, hang out with us. We brought a couch in for people for our studio audience, as it were, and which would be you if you make a $1,000 gift and you'd like to come to see Portland. If you're going to come see Portland, by the way, spend an extra day and visit the town and watch Portlandia before you do so, because it's actually a pretty good depiction of this town. Anyhow, thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV. Please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Okay?
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Brilliant article over at the Daily Beast. Trump's fine people on trial for terror. What's the matter with Kansas? The story, very straightforward. A major terrorism trial began last week in a Kansas federal court involving religious extremists who wanted to kill hundreds of people on U.S. soil using machine guns and explosives in the hopes of starting, in essence, a holy war. The FBI investigated these guys for 8 months. They finally got busted when one of them helped the FBI informant who had infiltrated their group transport 300 pounds of ammonium nitrate fertilizer, which is what Tim McVeigh turned into a bomb. In fact, I think McVeigh had less than 300 pounds. And they were going to fill it and put 2 vans in the basement of this building filled with people of a different religion and blow up the building and kill hundreds of them. And why are we not hearing about this? Because the killers, the terrorists who were planning this, who are, on, as I said, on trial in Kansas right now, are white Christians. In fact, they called themselves Christian Crusaders. On the line with us is Dean Obeidallah, the host of the Dean Obeidallah Show on SiriusXM Progress Channel 127, columnist with the Daily Beast. He's on from 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Deanofradio.com, of course, is his website. You can tweet him at Dean of Comedy as well. Dean, welcome back to the program.
Thanks very much for having me, Tom. I appreciate it, and especially to talk about this issue that doesn't get the press it deserves, and it should be getting more press. It should be getting national press. There's a major terrorism trial going on in federal court right now by people who were not just rambling about anti-Muslim stuff. It was they had taken steps and action, and if they weren't caught, who knows where we would be. But sadly, first of all, on one level, Trump ignores it because it's partly his base. And sadly, the media, so much of the mainstream media ignores it unless the person committing the terrorist act or plotting it are Muslim.
Yeah.
And it's unfair. It's double standard, but it also makes us less safe as a nation.
Yeah, this is not America. I mean, this is amazing. And just by the way, you are the author of this article that I was quoting from, just so everybody knows. Dino Badala wrote this, and one of these guys. There's these three guys: Patrick Stein, Gavin Wright, and Curtis Allen. They're all white Christians, and they said that they wanted to kill everyone, slaughter people there, including the children, in the hopes it would wake people up. Which is, by the way, what McVeigh wanted to do. He thought he was going to start a war. That all the good white Christians would rise up when Bill Clinton overreacted to the Oklahoma City bombing. That was his. But this quote that you have in this article from Stein, this was recorded by the FBI. This is verbatim. The only good Muslim is a dead Muslim. If you're Muslim, I'm going to enjoy shooting you in the head, kicking in the doors of the Somali apartments. These were Somali immigrants who were living in this area, kicking in the doors of the Somali apartments and killing them one by one. The three end of quote from Stein. The three defendants, you write, even spoke of raping the Muslim women and killing Muslim children in the apartment complex. And then it turns out these guys were big Trump fans. Allen, one of the three, had planted a Make America Great sign in his front lawn. Stein, the one I just quoted, is a big Trump fan, publicly praised him and quoted the debunked story of Pershing dipping bullets in pig blood when he's going after Muslims. I mean, this is absolutely bizarre. Dean, you are a Muslim American. What I'm not sure if that's the correct way to describe it. Please correct me if I'm not saying it right.
No, that's fine.
But how does this make you feel? And how do friends and family who are Muslim in this country, looking at this story that is getting absolutely no coverage, and you and I both know that it would be the exact opposite if the three people plotting were Muslims and the community that they were going to blow up, the apartment building they were going to blow up was filled with white Christians. It would be, top of news everywhere in the country. How do you feel about that? What does this mean to you as a human being?
Right. I mean, to me, and I've written about this for a few years, this double standard with the media when Muslims are the target of terrorism. We've had others like Robert Daggert, who these names don't ring a bell for most people. I've written about them. Robert Daggert, Glenn and Scott Crawford, a man who was sentenced to 25 years to life in a federal court last December for trying to build a dirty bomb to kill Muslims in upstate New York. Robert Daggert sentenced to 20 years to life, 20 years, just about 7-8 months ago for plotting to kill Muslims, and he was from Tennessee. When we see no press coverage and it seems no one cares, you really get to the point you wonder if Muslim lives matter in this country, except when they can be used by the media to get ratings, or they can be used by politicians to demonize us and gin up fear and get support. If these were three Muslims on trial, we all know Donald Trump would be tweeting about this and saying, look, we've caught these guys and we have to build a wall and everything else he could use it for political gain. That's what Donald Trump does. He would be doing that. Instead, he's completely ignoring it because they are three white Christian men who named themselves the Crusaders and, just like their namesakes, wanted to kill Muslims. But in this case, the Holy War was not going to take place in the Holy Land, but in Garden City, Kansas. And that's where the apartment complex was, that it was Somali Muslim immigrants there. And it's not a coincidence. Donald Trump has demonized Muslims and immigrants, and we saw a spike in anti-Muslim hate crimes, anti-Latino hate crimes. We saw a spike in anti-Semitic hate crimes as well in the last year and a half. Donald Trump has emboldened people who used to hide in the shadows to come out and plot to kill people who share my faith. Their only crime in the eyes of these terrorists that they're Muslim. And this is the world we live in right now. I mean, don't forget, Donald Trump wanted to ban a total complete shutdown on all Muslims coming to the country. He wanted to say to them they were not welcome in this country. That's exactly the federal prosecutor, Riza Berkauer, in opening statement on Thursday said the three wanted to send a message: Muslims are not welcomed here, not in Garden City, not in Kansas, not in America. That's the same message Donald Trump said when he said, I want a total complete shutdown of Muslims coming to this country last December 2015. Of course, he wasn't using violence, but he was telling them it's okay to despise and hate this faith group. And what leads from that? He is radicalizing people, in my view, no difference than an ISIS recruiter to commit acts of violence. The difference is an ISIS recruiter says, here, actually go kill people. Donald Trump is not saying that. I'm not playing games. He's not saying that. But he's taking them to the doorstep of violence. And it doesn't take much to push some of these people through, and that's what we see here.
Yeah. Is your sense that the dislike or even explicit hatred of Muslims or fear and misunderstanding, I mean, there's this whole spectrum, right, of people who go from clueless to being, pathological, malignant. That spectrum in just the last 2 years since Donald Trump started this rhetoric and injected it into the mainstream of the Republican Party and then the mainstream of American political discourse. In those 2 years, is it that more people are moving within that spectrum to the bizarre, crazy, killer, dangerous, malignant side, or is it that they were always there and now they're stepping up and becoming visible and speaking out and joining online forums and things, and they're less afraid to express their opinions than they used to be?
It's been a growing trend. I've been writing about it for several years for the Daily Beast and for CNN as well. This growing trend of, on the right, anti-Muslim bigotry has become the same idea as being, say, against higher taxes or smaller government.
Or
so
being against black people 50 years ago.
Right. So you have, and a few years ago it was building where there was, in Oklahoma, a state senator there, state representative, had said that Muslims are a cancer that must be cut out of the country. And it got press. He got a standing ovation. The GOP state chair backed him up, and he never apologized. And that concerned me because I had heard anti-Muslim rhetoric before, but not to the point where it was not apologized for. And it was a building drumbeat of hate from people like Bobby Jindal saying there were no-go zones when he was running for president. Right. And, about 2.5 years ago, myself and a group of about 10 Muslim Americans had the honor of having a meeting with President Obama at the time and talking about concerns of our community. And I said to President Obama that we hear this rhetoric, and I gave him example after example. And I said, what we hear from the Democrats in response, I said, is silence. And I said, we're alone, President Obama, and we need Democrats to stand up for us. And Democrats have, little by little, stood up for our community more and more. But there's a downside to standing with Muslims in the view of many people out there, even on the left. So, we are alone. And we used to have an Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, who told us Muslims at an event I was at in IMC that you're not alone, we stand with you. Well, with Jeff Sessions in this administration, we are clearly alone. The Attorney General does not stand with us. He doesn't protect people of color. That's just not the reality of this world we live in. So our community feels alone. It's been building. We're seeing more and more mosques in neighboring state Jersey, where I grew up, where the word Trump was used to deface the mosque, and that's not the only mosque where the word Trump was used, where the word Trump is becoming a modern-day swastika, that it's being used as a symbol of hate, not the name of a politician. And last year, the ADL documented there were 36 extremist-related murders on U.S. soil. Yeah. Or actually 34. 18 were by right-wing actors, 9 by Islamic-related terrorists.
Dean?
Double the amount. So this is the world we live in. They're emboldened, they're dangerous, and the U.S. government is not taking it seriously, and the media not reporting on it. It's making it more dangerous.
For several years, I've been promoting the work of a friend of mine, Ani Zonneveld, who runs an organization out of Los Angeles called Muslims for Progressive Values. MPVUSA.org is the website, as I recall. And she's got branches all over the world, and she's doing some really, really great stuff. Are there other organizations that I should be telling people about who can help, support the Muslim community in the United States?
Sure. I mean, there are Muslim advocates, it's called. They do free legal work, not just for Muslims, but people who are attacked. There's
Give us websites when you name them.
Oh, I think MuslimAdvocates.org, I believe it is. I've done a lot of things with them. In fact, they're representing me in my lawsuit against the Daily Stormer and the Nazis with another law firm. There's, the Council on American Islamic Relations. There are local chapters do great work fighting for people. ISNA, the Islamic CAIR, is just CAR.
Yeah, we have the people from CAIR on all the time.
So much by the right, it's unreal. They have a history in the past where some things were not good. Let's be blunt. They were never accused of anything, but they were unindicted co-conspirators. That years ago, the local chapter is doing fabulous work out there, fighting for civil rights. You have the Islamic Society of North America, ISNA, ISNA, and countless organizations out there now that are doing work on behalf of the Muslim community, but so much of it now is interfaith work. There's not one. I'm part of MJAC, called the Muslim Jewish Advisory Council, which is ISNA and the AJC, the American Jewish Council, are co-created this organization. All of our work now is interfaith. We're too small of a community to be alone.
Yeah.
And we are standing with other communities. We're standing with the LGBT community, the Jewish community, African-American community, immigrants, and more, especially the younger generation of Muslim Americans.
I wish we could get the evangelical community on board on this.
Oh, me too. I would love that. Tom, it's hard.
Yeah, there you go. Dean Obadala. He hosts the brilliant Dean Obadala Show, 6 to 9 p.m. right here on Sirius XM Progress Radio Channel 127. Check it out. If you don't regularly, it's great. Dean, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Good talking with you. And there's articles over at the Daily Beast. You can find that.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We'll be back with more of the news of the day, your calls, and my thoughts on all of the above in just a few minutes. And we have our poll. Ricky Santorum says kids should, this is our YouTube poll. Ricky Santorum says kids should learn CPR instead of rallying for gun laws. Is this just a way to try and divert attention from violence? 27%. Yes, Santorum is out to squash the demands of youth to stop guns. 61%. Yes, they will do anything to attempt to change the subject. 8%. Kids must learn CPR to help those shot due to laws not changing. 4%. More guns are needed, especially in schools. 4% in favor of guns. Right. And then, there's some comments. Dick Castle said, yes, kids should learn CPR so the next maniac opens fire and blows their friend's brains out, they'll know what to do. Right. If your brains have been blown out, CPR is not going to help you. I'm sorry, Dick, to, share that, but, CPR is a great idea, but it doesn't, as John Belcher points out, he says kids, learning CPR is a great idea, but it should not and does not have anything to do with school shootings. Let's see. Not Me says the message should be clear to these NRA puppets. If you are not with us, you are against us, and we will vote you out of office. And then Ill says, yes, I don't think CPR is useful when you have a bullet wound in your throat. Absolutely right. I don't know how to say it better. It's absolutely right. Alan in Tualatin, Oregon. Hey, Alan, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Hey, welcome back to Portland.
Thank you. It's great being here.
I missed you. Hey, in regards to the guns, I was wondering why Donald Trump has not mentioned guns and handguns. And it seems to go back to, he's got a friend called Stefan Feinberg, who is a private equity mogul, and he purchased the Remington Arms.
Remington went bankrupt this weekend.
Well, yeah, they
although they're continuing to operate. They're doing it under Chapter 11, so they're reorganizing.
Right. But I think this Feinberg is on board to come as a cabinet member somewhere. I don't know where he's going to slot him in. But when you look at Google on Remington, Remington owns a dozen other companies who are in ammunition, holsters, handguns, and everything else. And I think Donald Trump is, with this suggesting that all teachers have guns, they're trying to get the money back to Remington to get them out of the debt. They're $1 billion in debt. I guess it's...
I think they're $500 million in debt, and their assets are. The article I read this morning, the Financial Times said that they had assets between $200 and $500 million, and they had debt between $300 and $500 million.
Okay.
So
it probably changes. I got this from the last month.
I mean, you may well be right. This is what I read this morning.
But everything's tied together. It seems like.
Yeah. With
Trump and his tentacles are out everywhere.
I agree, and it's these weapons manufacturers and their front group, the NRA, have just twisted our society. It's the damage that they have done to this country it's like the tobacco companies, who kill 500,000 people a year. The gun companies are killing tens of thousands of people a year or facilitating their deaths. And we need to do something about this. Alan, thank you for the call. Yeah. Very well said. Thank you. And thanks for watching Free Speech TV. We'll be right back. It's coming up on 23 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. And let's see here. Andrew in Phoenix. Hey, Andrew, you wanted to talk about a special election coming up in Arizona?
Yes. The Congressional District 8 in Arizona has a special election on April 24th. It was the seat that Trent Franks once stood, but he resigned because of, the sexual issues, I think that.
Sure. What's the major metro area there? Which town is that near?
It's in Maricopa. It mostly borders. Sorry, hold on.
So it's near Phoenix, right?
Yeah, it's mostly in It's mostly in the Maricopa region.
Okay.
The western portion of Maricopa County here in Arizona, and the Democratic nominee is named Dr. Harold Tipernini. And she's running against a state senator named Debbie Lasko, who is currently under investigation for money laundering.
Must be a Republican, right?
Yeah, she's a Republican.
Okay, so heads up to those people who live in Arizona's 8th district, congressional district, on the 24th of April. You've got a special election coming, and it's a good Democrat in that race, huh?
Yeah, it's a very good. She's accepting no PAC money. She wants to raise Medicare from 65 to 50, and also she wants a public option.
That is great. That is great. Andrew, thanks.
Also, the last time, you have to register by midnight tonight if you have not already registered for the congressional district.
Okay, so if you're in the 8th Congressional District of Arizona and you have not registered to vote, do so today. You've got half a day here left to do it. It's it's a little after noon there in Arizona, isn't it? Or are you guys on? You guys are on Mountain Time, aren't you?
We're on Mountain. No, we're on the same time you are.
Oh, so it's 11:25 there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So great. You've got the whole afternoon here. You can even have lunch before you go. Get out there and register to vote. Andrew, thank you for the call. Good luck with that, and let us know how the election turns out, please. Gil in Tupelo, Mississippi. Hey, Gil, what's on your mind today?
Yes, I had an issue with a comment you made earlier, Tom. It was about the NRA, that they were glad to see a mass shooting every time they did it.
I didn't say they were glad to see it. I said that when mass shootings happen, the sale of guns goes up.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody at the NRA is celebrating mass shootings, but they certainly are profiting from them.
In my listing, it said that they were, proud to see it happening.
Well, if I said that, Gil, or anything like that, let me walk it back, because I don't think that way. I don't think I said that. I'm pretty sure that I said what I just said to you, which is when mass shootings happen, gun sales go up, and the NRA profits from that. I don't think that they're encouraging mass shootings. I'm not asserting that they're happy about mass shootings, but they do make money off mass shootings, or as a consequence of mass shootings. Excuse me, I should say. They're not specifically making it from them. You understand what I'm saying?
I do. I understand. How do you define the NRA? What?
Well, the NRA that I was a member of for years and years, back when I was going through the Georgia Police Academy and getting certified and licensed as a private detective by the state of Georgia, and the whole carry a concealed weapon and everything. I never went through the whole process of getting the permit, but I had to go through all the training to do so. Was that and at that point in time, I mean, that was in the 80s. The NRA was morphing, in the process of morphing from being a gun owners advocacy group and a sportsman's advocacy group to basically a front group for the weapons manufacturing industry, which is how I think of them now.
Well, I'm a lifetime member, and I am a member of the NRA. I consider that all 5 million members are the NRA.
Well, I wish that was the case. I don't think that that's the case, Gil. The majority of Republican gun owners want there to be background checks and close the gun show loophole, and yet the NRA is lobbying against both those things. So I don't think that they're paying attention to their members. In fact, anyhow, we got a boogie. Gil, thank you. It's the third and final week of the Free Speech TV fundraising drive and membership drive and all that kind of stuff. And special thanks to David Q from Castle Rock, Colorado, who joined the Builders Circle by giving $1,000 last Friday, or I believe it was Friday last week, maybe over the weekend.
And, and thank you to you if you have already called 877-378-8669 and made a contribution to Free Speech TV. We're in this last week here. We're still a little behind, but we're doing good. We're doing, so far it's very positive. I'm hopeful that this final week we can raise that additional $50,000 and make this thing work. So please call now, 877-378-8669. We're not talking about a lot of money here. I mean, it's the Free Speech TV's budget is smaller than some public radio stations, some of the larger ones around the country. I know it's smaller than that of Oregon Public Broadcasting, for example. And I believe we have a whole lot more viewers. So please call now, 877-378-8669. With a $30 gift, you get your choice of a bumper sticker, the Free Speech TV bumper sticker, the This Is Not Normal bumper sticker, the Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus bumper sticker, or the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $60 contribution, Love Conquers Hate is the lapel pin from the Human Rights Campaign. It's a jewelry-style clutch pin back. And you get the Free Speech TV blue grocery bag and the Thom Hartmann University bumper sticker. With a $72 gift, you get all 4 bumper stickers, Free Speech TV, This Is Not Normal, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus, and Thom Hartmann University. With a $120 gift, and these can be split up over 12 months, by the way. That would be $10 a month for a year, a commitment to, for a year of $10 a month, which is not a whole lot of money. Well, it is for some people, I realize, but, for most people, $10 a month is something that is a lot easier to handle than writing a $120 check. Anyhow, with the $120, you get an autographed photo that Louise took of me in Cuba in front of a painting of Fidel, and you get the book Unequal Protection, autographed by me. With a $240 gift, you get the Free Speech TV t-shirt, small, medium, large, or extra large. It's gray. It says Building a Just World on the front and Standing with Unity on the back, and has the Free Speech TV logo. You also get the Human Rights Campaign Love Conquers Hate lapel pin, and you get my book Unequal Protection autographed, and Bonnie Siegler's book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America. With then that's $240 gift, which also can be $20 a month for a year. With the $360 gift, or $30 a month for a year, you get the photo from Cuba. You get me doing this. You get the autographed book Unequal Protection, book I wrote about basically how the Supreme Court handed civil rights to corporations. Let's see, $360 gift. You get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, Lives of Black Lives Matter by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. You get a 1-year subscription to our podcast so that you can listen to this show, all 3 hours of it commercial-free, pretty much anytime, anywhere. The podcasts play on any kind of, Android device, Mac, iPhones, iPods, you name it. If it's portable, and you can, or even if it's not, you can play them on your computer. You can listen to all 3 hours of the show commercial-free. Something we normally sell. That's one of the few things that we sell here out of this program is our podcasts. And this is with the $360 gift or $30 a month for a year. You get a 1-year subscription to that. You get 4 bumper stickers, all 4 of the bumper stickers. The Thom Hartmann University, Elect a Clown, Expect a Circus. And This Is Not Normal, and the Free Speech TV logo. With a $480 gift or $40 a month for a year, you get a DVD of Louise and I in Cuba, Tom and Louise's Excellent Adventure. It's really mostly Cubans telling us about Cuba. There's just some fascinating interviews. And we're not selling this, we're not publishing it, we're not putting it on television or anything like that. It's only available to people who make a $480 contribution or commit to $40 a month for a year here on Free Speech TV. You also get the book When They Call You a Terrorist, the Black Lives Matter book by Patrice Kahn-Coolers. You get the book Signs of Resistance, A Visual History of Protest in America by Bonnie Siegler. And you get the Free Speech TV t-shirt, Building a Just World, the logo, And you can specify small, medium, large, or extra large. And with a $1,000 gift, come to Portland here, and I'll take you to lunch. You can sit in the studio, hang out with us. We brought a couch in for people, for our studio audience, as it were, and which would be you if you make a $1,000 gift and you'd like to come to see Portland. If you're going to come see Portland, by the way, spend an extra day and visit the town and watch Portlandia before you do so, because it's actually a pretty good depiction of this town. Anyhow, thanks so much for your support of Free Speech TV. Please call now, 877-378-8669. Thank you. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Emily Peck writes over at the Huffington Post, the headline, "The real scandal of the Stormy Daniels saga. The most scandalous part isn't the sex." I agree. The most scandalous part is the cover-up and the threats. And the power that billionaire white men have over pretty much anybody who takes them on. I mean, this is a real story, and it's not just Stormy Daniels. You've also got Karen McDougal, and then there's a third woman who is suing Trump right now for trying to kiss her for grabbing her. His famous, you can do whatever you want. I think she was in an audition for The Apprentice, as I recall. I'm drawing a blank on her name, but anyhow, there's a third one. John in Corning, California. Hey, John, what's on your mind today?
Hello.
Hey, John.
I have a problem right now, and that is basically with our government, like most Americans. They have a program within the government that I worked in, and it's called Social Modification Management of Human Conscience. It's basically to control the American vote, but also the American conscience, so that we will allow Washington to commit all these wars and war crimes throughout the world. These wars were planned approximately 28 years ago. Now that, to me, is un-American as you can get.
John, I'm not buying it. I'm sorry. Can you give me any credible source for this kind of a conspiracy?
Okay, let's say.
No. Just tell me any credible source. Do you have a source for this?
Yeah, me.
Okay. All right. John, thank you for the call. Rob in Guys Mill, Pennsylvania. Hey, hey, Rob, what's up?
Hey, Tom. Thanks for everything you do. I called in about the guns. I didn't try to start any arguments. I just want to enlighten people on a few facts and information. For one thing, they don't understand the NRA is making money by manipulating securities in the stock market every time there's one of these shootings.
Well, the NRA is a nonprofit organization. They don't make money. They bring in money, but it's so let's just be
can't tell me
precise in our language here.
Moving stocks after these shootings, because these gun shops, like down in Texas, there's one with Pierce Morgan. They were making over $1 million a week selling guns. They ran out of guns. They couldn't get no guns.
Oh, I've told this story a million times. Right after Barack Obama was elected, that Thanksgiving, right after 3 weeks after Election Day, I was in Michigan with my brothers, and we went out to Mason, Michigan, to the gun range out there to rent some guns and bullets and stuff, and just have some fun shooting. And they were limiting us to 2 boxes of ammunition each because they were basically sold out. I mean, they had a huge, large area of shelves that were just empty, because once Obama was elected, all these viral emails were going around going, he's going to take your guns, he's going to take your bullets, he's going to, all these weird conspiracy theories about this black Muslim president who was taking, and it was bizarre, but it had to be very profitable, insanely profitable for the gun industry. And I think the only reason Remington is going bankrupt right now is because there's not a Democrat in the White House that the gun nuts can use to whip up fear among other people. So.
Well, yeah, I think we should be investigating, though, did some of the high-ranking NRA members move some monies in some stocks when
Yeah, I think that we just need to take it head on. Rob, thank you for your call, and I understand you're well-meaning, but I think that the what we need to do is have bring back the assault weapons ban, and within the limits of the Heller decision, we can do a lot. Actually, in this country, Connecticut has the strongest gun control laws in the country as a result of the Newtown shooting, and Connecticut has seen a drop in gun crime since they passed them. George in Chicago. Hey, George, what's up? Thanks for listening to WCPT.
And thank you for all that you do, Tom. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
One brief point before I get to what I called about. It's important for all of us to remember that the annual operating budget of the NRA, less than half of it is from the dues-paying members. The rest of it comes from the gun manufacturers, and now, as we know, from Russia, $30 to $40 million funneled into the NRA from outside our borders.
I've read that in the news. I can't confirm it, but that my understanding comports with yours.
Anyway, it seemed to me for a long time that the basic set point for capitalism is maximum work for minimum or no pay, in other words, slavery.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the things that's going on with arming teachers in Florida. I haven't heard any Republicans advancing the idea that if a teacher is going to carry a gun all day, that essentially makes them an armed security guard. And if they're going to be a full-time armed security guard in addition to their teaching duties, they should be receiving a similar amount of pay.
Right.
Their training should be paid for by the state. Their bullets and their weapons should be paid for by the state. Their certification, background checking, fingerprinting, mugshotting, and every other bit of checking them out to make sure they'll be stable and reliable.
And it should be unnecessary. Teachers. But, I don't know if you saw it over the weekend. There was an article about how about 1 in 10 American pilots right now are carrying guns. And only in the cockpit are they allowed to take the gun out of the lockbox. But they do. And, clip it on their belt. And they're just, and they're trained. And there's, in fact, Congress, appropriated the money for this a couple of years after 9/11. And there's training and stuff. But the pilots are not paid for this. They have to take personal time off to go for the training and that certification. Most of the guys who've done it are ex-military pilots, and so they're real comfortable with it. But you're right. We're asking teachers to be security guards, but I think there's a larger issue too here. With pilots on airplanes, it's a whole different thing than schools. But we just because terrorist targets versus international terrorism targets versus domestic terrorism targets, but we just have too many damn guns in this country, and it's crazy that half of the guns held by civilians in the entire world are in the hands of Americans. There's no need for it, and the consequence is an epidemic of homicides and suicides and accidental shootings and kids killing kids and school shootings and everything else. And every other country that is, in Scotland they had a mass slaughter. They said no, they got rid of the guns. In Australia, they had a mass slaughter. They said no, they got rid of the guns. Both of those societies, within a year or so of getting rid of the guns, saw radical drops, not just in homicides and not just in gun crimes, but even in suicides and domestic violence. Guns are toxic. Guns feed, this whole toxic testosterone-driven masculinity thing. We need to strip many of these guns out of our society. I'm not calling for a complete ban on guns, but at the very least, we should be seriously thinking about doing what Australia did. George, well said. Thank you for pointing that out, that we're asking our teachers to do 2 jobs and only paying them for 1. It's crazy. Sam in Canton, North Carolina, listening on WPEK. Hey, Sam, what's on your mind today?
Well, I've been hearing people say that Trump may do something and cause a constitutional crisis. I've got a very active imagination. I can see something even worse happening. Bolton is going to get us into a major war. Most of the people that are paying attention to who he is are kind of thinking, yeah, he's going to get us into one. Trump is panicking. He is like a wounded animal. Animals, if you've ever gone hunting, an animal that would never attack a human being will bite you if it's wounded.
Or if it's cornered.
Or cornered.
Yeah, I had a rat once. I was trying to get out of my garage, and he just reared up on his hind legs when I came after him with a laundry basket. I was just trying to trap him, and that rat was going to take me out.
Well, he was going to try to anyway.
Yeah.
It's called self-preservation.
Yep.
Anyway, Bolton gets us into a war. Trump panics. He declares martial law, suspends the Constitution, and declares himself to be dictator of America.
I think you're missing one step.
What's that?
He declares war on either Iran or North Korea and then pronounces a state of emergency because of the war, and then he does the things you're talking about.
Constitution. Yeah, well, okay. Well, I forgot a step in there. Yeah, it's still a very, very frightening thought.
I think it's a very, very real possibility, and it scares the crap out of me. It's just,
I was hoping you were going to disagree with me.
No, I think you're right, Sam, and it's why I am, and I realize this is kind of salvationistic thinking. Somebody else is going to save us when we've got to save ourselves. But I really hope that Robert Mueller is doing a serious and thorough investigation, not just of Russian influence in the election, although I want to know about that. I think all Americans do, but also what are the crimes that the Trump crime family has committed, and what are the crimes that Mike Pence committed when he was leading the Trump transition? What are the crimes that other members of the Trump administration and cabinet have committed? It would be so nice to have the Republican Party restock the White House. Let the Republicans do it. I mean, even Paul Ryan as president, I would feel a hell of a lot safer than either Donald Trump or Mike Pence. Mike Pence is a frightened little evangelical, anti-gay, anti-anybody who's not white toady of Donald Trump. He's an old talk show host and basically just knows how to do hate. But Paul Ryan, who is next in line for the presidency, if both Trump and Pence were prosecuted and removed from office, Paul Ryan would become president, and I'm not sure how it goes from there. I think he then picks a vice president.
The Republicans are not going to do anything.
Yeah, I don't like Paul Ryan, but I don't think he's going to start a war.
The Republicans are like the Bund was in Germany in 1932 when they passed the Enabling Act.
Yeah.
The Republicans are sitting back. They're so power drunk and they're so, money drunk. They're not going to do anything.
I think you're absolutely right.
Happen.
Well, and this is where I asked Bob Ney, who's a former Republican congressman, an hour ago. I said, if this scenario that I laid out in my response to you, Sam, if this scenario plays out, will the Republican Party fight Trump or go along with him? And he said he thought that they would fight him, but there are some Republicans that I think we can predict would go along with him. And that's going to be a real mess. Sam, thanks for the call.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archive.
Coming up on 46 minutes past the hour, we'll be back with more of your calls in just a minute. And welcome back. Steve, watching Free Speech TV in New Boston, Michigan. Hey, Steve.
Hey,
What's
Tom.
up?
Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Hey, I got a short reading. I know it's sort of discouraged on the show, but I read it to your staff, and it's already been cleared. But it's something I think that's relevant for today, and I'd like to share it with everyone.
If it's
two
brief.
paragraphs, and it's very brief. It reads, the subject of a fanciful story by an early biographer of George Washington, Mason Weems, the source of the saying, I cannot tell a lie. According to Weems, the young Washington received a new hatchet and used it to chop down his father's prized cherry tree. His father demanded to know how the tree had fallen. George was tempted to deny his misdeed, but then, looking at his father with the sweet face of youth, brightened with the inexpressible charm of all, conquering truth, he bravely cried out, I cannot tell a lie. I did cut it with my hatchet.
Yeah, I think that
What
story has been
happened
debunked, Steve, but it's nice,
Well, whether it did or not,
But, George Washington at least had... Go ahead.
We are so blatantly just accepting all these lies that's coming out of Washington, and it's one after another, after another, after. It's like a soap opera.
Yeah. Well, no, it's like a reality show, and that's what Donald Trump knows how to do. He's been unsuccessful in the real estate business. He's gone bankrupt repeatedly. He was unsuccessful in the casino business, which is crazy. How do you lose money running casinos? I've never heard of anybody in the history of the earth doing that. He was unsuccessful in the steak business. He was unsuccessful in the vodka business. He actually got prosecuted and convicted for fraud in the for-profit college business. He was unsuccessful in the Donald Trump game business. He's down to about the only successes he has is he's selling hats and ties that are made in China, and he's borrowing money, borrowing money from German banks and Russian oligarchs to prop up his teetering real estate empire. But basically, the only one thing that he's ever actually made money at and been a success at for 11 years was being a reality TV star. And reality TV, as you know, is not real. A reality TV, you know, when they write these reality TV shows, and yes, they do write them, you know, people are not given actual line-by-line scripts, but they are given scene-by-scene instructions of what to do and how to do it. When they write these reality shows, the question is always, how do you throw the audience off balance every 3 or 4 minutes? How do you keep the audience guessing what's going to go next? How horrify or shock the audience even more this time than you did last time, even more this minute than you did 5 minutes ago? And Donald Trump learned that well. And he is applying that in the White House. And what we have right now in the White House is a reality show going on. And he is intentionally, purposefully churning the news cycle the same way you churn the event cycle in a 1-hour reality show. And you know, why more people don't realize
on
this?
The show too.
Say that again.
He's bringing all his own players in to be on the show.
Yeah, of course, and he's picking people because he thinks that they're theatrical. Hey, look at the number 4 person in the State Department used to be her only qualification is that she was a newsreader on Fox News. It's like, really? No, she looks good. She knows how to do television. It's like he's creating cast and characters from reality. John Bolton, you know, he's on Fox News after all, so he's got to be great. I mean, this is the reality show-ification of the American presidency, and I hope that the presidency recovers from this. I am very concerned about the damage that he is doing to the institutions of this country, and not just the EPA and the FEC and the SEC and the FDA and the USDA and all these other agencies that are there to protect Americans, that he is crippling, the Interior Department, crippling and disabling. But the presidency itself has never been damaged like this, in my opinion. Steve, thanks for the call. This is incredible. We'll be right back. Fair and only slightly unbalanced. Thom Hartmann here with Viagra for your brain. Peter in Chicago. Hey, Peter. Thanks for listening to WCPT. What's on your mind?
Got a couple things. One's about Stormy Daniels, and the other's the NRA. As far as Stormy Daniels goes, I mean, this is nothing but just a propaganda smear. She even said on the interview she had no idea who threatened her, didn't report it. She's just trying to make some money, and that's what it comes down to. It was a consensual relationship, as was the other Playboy bunny.
I don't have a problem, Peter, with Donald Trump screwing as many women as he wants. I mean, in the literal sense. But when he starts paying them off to be silent, that means that he has put himself in a position where he could be blackmailed.
Yeah, not been proven, but okay. I understand your thought on that. As far as the NRA goes, the NRA, Tom, does more for gun safety than anything else out there. The guns aren't the issue. The guns aren't the problem. It's the people who get the guns who shouldn't have them, like Cruz. And it was a failure by the government on all levels, including the Coward County cops, who didn't do their jobs to stop that guy.
Peter, nice job of echoing the NRA, but you're completely wrong. It is the guns. If you look from county to county in the United States, or even from state to state, the higher the gun ownership, the higher the percentage of gun ownership, the higher the percentage of suicide by gun, homicide by gun, domestic violence by gun, all crimes by gun. And if you look at country to country, the higher the gun ownership, the higher the rate of gun deaths. It's real simple. It's not rocket science. And the numbers are there for anybody to see. And, you know, every country that has done something about their guns has seen a decrease not only in gun violence, but even in suicides. JR in Redmond, Oregon. Hey, JR, what's on your mind today?
Well, I'm actually in Columbia, Missouri, rolling along behind the sunglasses and next to the door of my semi-truck.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment. You know, you study history. What happens to the citizens when there's a protracted famine? And what if what we're seeing right now with the mass shootings is a famine of dignity? Because this seems to be something that only comes from working-class white men.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we can do about that.
Well, the mass shootings began, the very first one was, setting aside the anomaly of, it wasn't Speck, it was Whitman, I think, Charles Whitman in the tower in Texas. That was in the 70s. But the first real serious mass shooting of the kind that we're seeing in this world, in this era now, started toward the end of the Reagan administration. I think it was 86. And they've been increasing in frequency. And they've been increasing in frequency ever since. And of course, that was when Reagan's war on the middle class, his war on working people, his war on unions was actually starting to take a bite out of people. And we were starting to see for the first time the decline of the middle class and the ruination of the working class in America, to the point now where, when Reagan came into office, the typical American family could be supported with one wage. And now, yes, household incomes now are about identical to what they were in 1980. But the household now has 2.3 people in the workforce, whereas in 1980 it had 1.2 people in the workforce, which means everybody's making about half as much as they were when Reagan came in. And not only that, when Reagan came into office, your health insurance was able to actually pretty much pay for everything, and it was relatively inexpensive. I don't know what the costs were in 1981, but I know in the 1970s, from 72 until 78, I owned an advertising agency in Atlanta and an herbal tea company. We had 18 employees, and I was paying $35 a month for Blue Cross Blue Shield for each one of my employees as the employer.
Yeah.
And Reaganism has just destroyed this country.
It absolutely
And
has.
I think that there's a correlation between that and these mass shootings. I absolutely do.
Yeah, I'm not sure what can be done about it.
What can be done about it is to take the top tax rate back up to 74%, where it was when Reagan came into office, so that on income after $3 million, which will decrease the massive wealth at the top and will increase wealth among the middle class and the poor. And because, look at the research that was done by Pickett and, I'm forgetting his name, Kate Pickett.
I can't remember it either.
Yeah. Anyhow, it's the website, and the book is The Spirit Level. Richard Wilkinson is his name. And
Excellent
the Spirit,
book.
The Spirit Level, and then the book that he wrote before that, Why Inequality Matters. And what he showed is, as societies become more unequal, you have more interpersonal violence, particularly among strangers. And that one single variable, inequality, can be tied to drug abuse, and I think that our opioid epidemic is a symptom of Reaganism as well, to spousal abuse and child abuse, to suicides, to homicides, to gun violence, to drug addiction, I mentioned drug addiction, to, basically, he's got a list of about 25 social ills that are all tied to inequality. I think the solution is to go back to the tax policy we had before Reagan, undo Reaganomics, which nobody has done to this point.
I'm right with you. Well, driving truck as I do, I have a foot in each world. And if you argue politics on the internet, as I've been known to do, one thing becomes immediately apparent, and that is that the GOP rank and file are absolutely incapable of forming a defeasible argument that is free of logical inconsistency and logical fallacy. They just can't argue. Right. And when you have the kind of inequality we have, we end up with a situation where a lot of these folks feel that they won't be listened to unless they have a gun in their hand. And that's really sad on a lot of levels. I'll let you go now.
Yeah, it really is. Thanks a lot, JR. Pat in Milwaukee. Pat, I'm sorry, we just have 30 seconds to the end of the show. Do you have a quick comment?
Well, as quickly as I can, I'm a retired teacher, public school, and I just want to add that our children who marched, they're idealists, because that's what happened. That's part of psychology and development of the mind.
Yes. Well, and that's idealism is definitely the province of youth. Although, I'm an old fart, and I'm still idealistic, and I suspect you are too, Pat. I'm not an old fart, but I'm still idealistic. And idealism, we need it. We really need it. Pat, thank you so much for the call and the comment. Spot on. Very well said. And thank you all for being with us today. It's been a fascinating day. We will see where this whole Trump and Stormy Daniels and all the other women thing goes. We'll see where Bolton goes. Wow, so much. Anyhow, we've got to get active. Get out there, get active. Tag, you're it. This is not time to just sit back and watch what's going on. We'll see you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by the Aiden Forecast, an investment newsletter with weekly updates of leading market indicators and a monthly deep dive into what the details of the economy and the markets mean for investors and retirees. On the web at aidenmarkets.com.
Wines have some of the highest pesticide levels in our food chain. This hour brought to you by ecowine.com. Pesticide-free wines, organic wines, imported from France by the Organic Wine Company, ecowine.com.
Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Super Beets. Super Beets are sourced from non-GMO beets, and they're packed with dietary nitrates, helping to produce nitric oxide for more energy, stamina, and support for healthy blood pressure levels naturally. For more information, call 800-223-8242.
Or visit tomsbeets.com.